For the fourth year in a row, as the virtual world picks up momentum, IMSA joins it in full force. This is iRacing Countdown to Green, presented by Michelin in year 4 of the IMSA Esports Global Championship. Welcome along to the IMSA channels and to the iRacing Esports Network. Qualifying underway right now, watching the Porsche Coanda Esports 963 dive down through the final corner at this glorious Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Sun setting as we get ready to go racing into the night. Arjuna Kankipati joined alongside by Joey Atterbury once again, but by Reese Gardner for the first time. And Reese, I know you were excited. Was it hard to get much sleep last night down under?
Well, depending on the way you look at it, I actually napped from about 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. in preparation for this one. It's just gone past 2:46 a.m. here in Perth, so I'm in it for the long haul. I am energized and I am excited for the first round of this fantastic championship.
And Joey, great to have you back. Last year was great. We return with, for the most part, the same cars, just one change in GTD and some new teams, but a lot of returning faces as well.
Yeah, very similar type of story from what we had a year ago, but a little bit different too, with that little bit of a different schedule change as well, having a little bit of a GTD, GTP standalone event that we're going to get into a little bit later. So I'm really looking forward to the 2025 esports series here with IMSA.
And before we dive into the super serious stuff, one thing that John Doonan highlighted in the State of the Sport just a couple of weeks ago was iRacing Arcade, which is coming on December 2nd on Steam. I'm very excited to grab that for my Steam Deck, hit it on the road while I'm at the IMSA season next year. Looks like a lot of fun. IMSA, one of the first partners that came on board. And Reese, I know you would like having some fun. Not everything has to be super serious.
No, certainly not. If you enjoyed Circuit Superstars, you'll absolutely love this. Developed by Original Fire Games, creators of Circuit Superstars, but with real cars and tracks involved, including cars from the IMSA Sports Car Championships and the Michelin Pilot Challenge as well. It's looking like a fantastic game leading up to release. Consoles in early 2026, but it'll be coming in December on Steam. So gear up, make sure to get your copy.
Just joining the whole suite now of iRacing Studio titles that you can enjoy across of whatever platform you are competing on. Like, a lot of fun has gone into that, and hopefully some of our drivers will be thinking about putting their prize money into their purchase of iRacing Arcade. And this is where Joey, it comes down to the business. $25,000 split across the GTP and GTDs, and the team champions walk away with $5,000 when all things are said and done.
Yeah, I mean, you covered it perfectly there. $25,000 in total prize pool between the two different classes. The champions, of course, walking away with that lion's share, $5,000 US for each of those first place championship efforts. And then it kind of gets split up, $2,500 for second place, $1,600 for third, and then you see it kind of goes incrementally down all the way through 10th place in the championship for both the GTP and GTD classes.
And no entry fee either. The drivers qualified their way in either through an iRacing time attack or through the VCO Grand Slams. Joey touched on this. The split single event format coming up on November 23rd is going to take center stage. But before that, a trip to Sebring in a couple of weeks' time, a trip to Daytona to close out the season. But Reese, 75 minutes on the streets of Long Beach in a GTP machine, 75 minutes in a GTD machine rather, at the VIR Virginia International Raceway. It's going to be fun to split the classes up and for our GTDs to get a chance to fight for an overall win.
Absolutely, and I think the GTDs will be grateful that they won't have GTPs trying to pass them in the concrete canyons of Long Beach. That's going to be quite the interesting round, and of course closing off the season at Daytona International Speedway. You know, we've been there so many times before, both in the real world and the sim world, and we know what to expect. Hard racing and slipstreaming all the way through. It's a fantastic schedule, the greatest hits of America's sports car races here.
I've got to say, VIR, what a flowing track. I can't wait to get into that virtually. Let's talk about the first of our two classes that's featured here in the 2025 IMSA Esports Global Championship. It all starts with the GTPs, V6s and V8s across the four that we have on the platform, all putting out just shy of 700 horsepower, but of course factor in some of the hybrids as well. The Acura, BMW, Cadillac and Porsche entries represented in the series. 5 apiece, Joey, across the 20 cars.
It's pretty cool to have all of these GTP machines in there. Of course, these are those prototype machines. Remember, these are the faster of the two classes. They are going to be ripping around here at sub 1 minute 10 around Road Atlanta. So it's really going to be interesting to watch the multi-class traffic. And of course, remember, these prototype drivers, extremely aggressive in the traffic.
Our defending champions, not running the number one, but Williams Sim Racing, Chill Blast, Jaden Munoz, Matt Farrow. They combined to win last year in a BMW. And boy, do we have some drama at the very end of the season at Daytona with Max Verstappen missile into turn one. But Reese, I think this is maybe one of the foreign teams. And so we'll be curious to see how they get on in their Porsche. But BMW M Team Redline, got to watch out for Chris Lolland, who's done some racing with Verstappen of late in the real world, and the ever-fast double world champion on iRacing, Diogo Pinto.
Yeah, absolutely. Diogo Pinto winning Porsche Esports Super Cup in 2022 and the IndyCar Pro Series in 2024. Chris Lolland with a steadily growing real-life racing resume as well, competing at the 24 Hours of Spa earlier on this year. Another car to keep an eye out for is the Channel 199 Sim Racing crew, with Casey Kerwin, former eNASCAR champion, and Owen Carroll teaming up once more, supporting Travis Pastrana there for the 199 team, and probably one of the best looking liveries on this grid.
I love that Casey, who does self-describe himself as a streamer who occasionally does some competitive racing, loves his sports cars and has joined us here once again and could be looking to try and grab a victory. They will be passing the much more numerous 32 car strong GTD Grand Touring Daytona class. They've got a whole mix of engines as they put out anywhere from 5 to 600 horsepower depending on the ever crucial balance of performance, with a minimum weight of around 1,250 kilograms. The Aston Martin joins the fun for the first time, released on iRacing just a handful of months ago. It joins the BMW M4 GT3 Evo, the Chevy Corvette, the Ferrari 296, Ford Mustang, Lamborghini Huracan, Mercedes AMG, and Porsche 911. And when I think about the teams here, it's defending champions that maybe will be the strongest, although Team Redline, with only one entry in class this year, as opposed to two, could be slightly on the back foot. It's Enzo Benito, Florian Lebigra, slightly off-favored last year in terms of championship favorites, but they were the Redline car that were able to stay out of trouble and put it all together. Will they be able to do the same? Because they're not the only fast team in an Aston Martin. We've got the Aston Martin Aramco Esports team joining us, but also the Scuderia Ferrari HP Esports team, Daniel Lafuente and Ollie Steinbraten representing them, Joey.
It's going to be pretty cool to see this Ferrari HP Esports Scuderia car out there on the racetrack, the number 150, and like you said, driven by Daniel and Ole Steinbraten out there. And then also, like you had mentioned, that Team Redline car, I think the biggest difference is that make. They're in the Aston Martin this year, which is a completely different manufacturer than what we saw Team Redline in last year.
And I jumped the gun. Here's the Aston Martin Aramco Esports team, Lasse Bach and Ruben Paulino teaming up for the opening round of the championship. And those are two fearsome drivers in the world of iRacing, a team relatively new to iRacing, but F1 rivals. Scuderia Ferrari, Aston Martin doing battle. It should be a lot of fun in the GTDs. And one paint scheme that caught the eye of our team as we were getting ready to go, the Veloce Thrustmaster crew. It was the very last paint to be submitted, just under the wire, but Reese loved the use of spec maps, that matte sort of chrome reflection coming off it as well. It really does look good.
It absolutely does. I think if you put any livery on the Ferrari 296, it's going to look fantastic. But yeah, like you say, just watching the way the light reflects off that livery. I always appreciate when a team puts a little extra effort in when it comes to spec maps, patterns on the car, etc. This is going to be one of the most eye-catching cars out there today in our field today. Meanwhile, let's keep an eye out for the track we're racing at today. If you know sports car racing, you know Road Atlanta. Opened in 1970, built in just a few months, and it has played host to the Petit Le Mans for decades at this point. A challenging circuit, Arjuna, with loads of corners in the first sector. The final sector dominated by straight line speed. Traffic is going to be a big factor here today.
And let's go and take a look with a man with plenty of experience around this track. Let's jump on board with BS Turner's own Robbie Foley for a lap of the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta.
Hey everyone, my name is Robbie Foley. I'm a BMW M Motorsport Works driver and driver of the number 96 Turner Motorsport BMW M4 GT3 Evo and the IMSA WeatherTech Championship. I'm here to take you guys on a lap of Road Atlanta, so let's do it. Come with me. Headed through turn 12 to start the lap, just start finish under the bridge here. Looking down into turn 1, super fast corner, high commitment, braking just after the wall, carrying in a lot of entry speed, using the hill to kind of catch the car, quickly preparing the car back to the right to set up for turn 3. Turn 3, taking a lot of apex curve here, ultimately trying to make it flat through turn 4 and the S's. You just managed to get it done flat, setting up for turn 5 all the way on the right side of the road. A lot of elevation here for turn 5, bouncing over that curve at the exit, trying to put the power down. Now headed down to turn 6. Late braking here, carrying in maximum entry speed, using the extra camber at the apex to kind of catch the car. Straight into turn 7, probably the most important corner on the track to prepare a good exit. And now we head down the long back straightaway. A little bit of a break, but not much, because we have a lot of prototype traffic in this race. A lot of prototypes going past us here. Ultimately preparing the braking for turn 10 as late as we can. One of the best passing spots on the track. Gonna brake around the 100 forward, down to second gear. Eyes up through 10A, trying to compromise a little bit to get turn 10B almost flat, which sets up a nice run to end the lap through turn 12. And back under the bridge, and that's a lap with me here at Road Atlanta. Hope you enjoy the race.
That lap brought to us by our friends at AMD. Thanks to Robbie for taking the time out of his schedule as well to jump into the sim. We've got a couple of minutes before, a couple of seconds, I should say, before we close things up. And Joey, I'll come to you because you've raced here at the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, and the elevation really is a big factor that we're going to be talking about here today.
It's a roller coaster ride. Turn number 1, extremely uphill from apex all the way up through turn number 3, and then you take the roller coaster ride back down the S's, and then you heard Reese say that sector number 3, the hugely long straightaway. You got to be ready and confident on that brake pedal pressure going down into turn number 10A. But when I think of the whole Bob Ross landscape today, I'm thinking multi-class traffic.
And well, 2 hours and 40 minutes to come, Reese.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be all about endurance and about managing traffic. That's going to be the big factor here today. We'll obviously be going into more detail later on, but for now, let's get hyped.
That is Countdown to Green presented by Michelin. Coming up, the start of the 2025 IMSA Esports Global Championship.
so I make it harder. Don't hold back. Galvanize.
Trajectory and balance look good. You're confirmed to go for orbit.
Every day, Michelin innovates to move the world forward on the road and far beyond. Michelin, motion for life.
This is why we came.
I can hear your soul whispering, trumpets blowing in the distance. Been broken, couldn't keep me down. I'm back better than ever now. These are the moments that define us. Do we run or do we rise up? We're taking everything we're feeling, blowing through the ceiling. This is the story they remember. No peace, no surrender. You can't kill a legend, legends never die.
3 weeks since the sunset on the 28th running of the Motul Petit Le Mans, but it's time for the Michelin Raceway to come alive once again as the IMSA Esports Global Championship heads to Road Atlanta for the opening round of 2025. The fourth edition of this championship and the strongest entry list it has ever seen, with the biggest entry list it has ever seen. Arjuna Kangipati joined alongside by Reese Gardner and by Joey Atterbury. And Joey, it was great to have you join us last year. And like I said, bigger entry list, but stronger entry list as well.
Yeah, a little bit different from last year, but very much a same story. And yeah, the entry list, what have we got? 52 cars here at Road Atlanta. I think about 20 of those prototypes, 30 plus of those GTDs out there. So I can't wait to see how everybody plays on the playground together today.
Don't forget, you can join us in chat both on the IMSA YouTube channel and across of the iRacing Esports Network as well. All three of us will be looking to try and answer your questions. But Reese, the schedule's got lots of interesting surprises, no bigger than round number 3.
Absolutely. Going to be 2 separate sprint events for round 3. The GTP is going to take to Long Beach and the GTD is going to Virginia International Raceway. Both races 75 minutes in length. That's going to give a chance to bring the GTs to the fore there. So let's see then how things are going to work here for the balance of performance here, Joey. A few changes from last season.
Yeah, just a few little changes, but this is that BOP table, so you can see both the GTPs and the GTDs there. A little bit of weight added to some of the cars, maybe some power reduction to others, and I guess the best way to kind of describe this is that everybody's got to come with the toys to the playground, but you can't have your toy be a little bit faster than the others. The whole point of BOP is to make sure that everybody has that same performance window.
And the BOP brought to you by iRacing Arcade, the same BOP from Petit Le Mans, the iRacing Petit Le Mans, a handful of weeks ago. So you at home may have ran with this as well. Let's talk qualifying in the books and grabbing the first AMD Pole Award of the season. It's GTP, Porsche Coanda, and GTD Coanda Esports locking out the front row, pole position in both classes, and Jordan Caruso getting it done in the GTP class. I'm not quite sure exactly who had done it in GTD, but it's the 181. Might end up being a championship contender with debutant Alejandro Sanchez joining the team. That's a very strong lineup with Xander Reed as well. Let's run you through the entirety of that starting grid brought to you by AMD. It's Porsches at the front with Porsche Coanda, Jordan Caruso alongside of Jordan Johnson for Solpec Precision Racing, who were the best of the Porsches in last year's championship. They'll be pushed by Alexander Spetz for Drago Racing, alongside a BMW M Team Redline and Diogo Pinto. Jaden Munoz in the defending champion, number 5, Williams Sim Racing Chill Blast Porsche, is alongside of a sister car, the Williams Gaming Club. Moreno Sarica is on starting duties, with 7th going the way of Eduardo Leo. Watch out for the second of the Team Redline BMWs, with Solpec's second car, the Virtual Mindset Machine, piloted by Robin Schwank. Edge of the top 10 for Apex Racing in their Cadillac, as the Eagles sing for Casey Kerwin in the Channel 199 Sim Racing Machine. David Adam for Maniti Racing will line up in 11th. He's got the best of the Acuras for company in 12th position, CrowdStrike Racing and Loic Rabier. Fiercely forward, Marcus Nunez had the Grid and Go Cadillac on their outside. Not the best of qualifyings for a team that will be looking for some stronger efforts. Same to be said for BMW M Team BS Plus competition. Dominic Kaufman all the way at the back alongside of Maniti Racing, CrowdStrike second car, and then Grid and Go's second Cadillac as well. One final row, big 20 car grid. And Tamas Shimon for IMSA Esports has got Culture Team, the Spanish outfit, rounding out the 20 cars in class. GTD, it is Alejandro Sanchez, freshly signed by Coanda in the purple and orange, and in the Corvette, Manuel Troncoso and the best of the Aston Martins will be alongside, while Johan Hart in the Ford and Benedict Vida in the fiercely forward Lamborghini make it 4 different manufacturers inside of the front 2 rows. Tristan Iglesias matches his teammate at the front of the field. He's got Sam Ward to the outside of the BMW for Team PVZ. Enzo Benito, defending champion, Team Redline, 7th for them. Hugh Barter, Drago Racing in 8th position in their second Aston Martin. Scuderia Ferrari HP Esports, they're alongside of Williams Sim Racing Placey, while BS Plus Turner and the Mahler Racing Team, both ran by BS Plus competition, are on row number 6. 13th, and hopefully not unlucky for Cody Deaton, the Veloce Thrustmaster Ferrari. Altitude Freem Esports and James Baume are in 14th. Door and Fiercely Forward are rounding out the halfway pack of this class, with the French Alex Gall for the Apex Racing Team, alongside of Lasse Back, buried in the pack for the Aston Martin Aramco Esports crew. EMM Esports, the Lamborghini, is in 19th. Yano Cox in 20th for gridandgo.com. Isaac Price, Guillaume Levesque, Kevin Ellis Jr. and Daniel Ola. That's the top 24, and some big names down here. Keep an eye out on Virtus Pro as Ellis Jr. joined by Dara McCormack as they try and charge their way up through the field. Cheza Esports, their Porsches in 25th. Simufy rolls alongside of Winward and EMM just behind them. Mag Performance in the Ferrari. Aditis Racing by WSR. That's the top 30, and now just 2 more at the tail end of our 52 car field. Impulse Racing by GTU and WSR Esports. We are behind the pace car, and Reese, here are our Michelin keys to the race.
Yes, well, the first point is a pretty obvious one. Endurance, not a sprint. We've got 2 hours and 40 minutes worth of racing to come. Make sure to play your cards right, especially when it comes to the traffic. The entire first half of this track is nothing but high-speed sweeping corners. And so if you catch a pack of GTs as a prototype, you will need to take your time and be safe about it. Apart from that, strategy is going to be a consideration in the early stages, but I think once we start getting things all mixed up, we're going to have to throw out the map and race, especially with the possibility of rain coming, Arjuna.
66% chance was the forecast, but Joey, we have a 90-minute window in which the chance of rain is starting to increase. We had no rain last year. We're seeing some pre-race penalties, but the rain could bring a chance for those cars to fight back.
And I think it's just a curveball right in the middle of the race, right? What happens if it does start to rain? How long do you stay out there on the dry tires with that gamble of speed versus the fall off of how wet and slick that racetrack is going to be once the downpour, if it actually begins, happens?
Well, we appreciate your company here at the start of another 4 races. There's some intriguing curveballs coming the way of the drivers. Rain, yes. Round 3 in particular, a trip to Long Beach and VIR, but no inter-class traffic to worry about. The pace car will peel off and away, and it's the Australian duo, Jordan Caruso and Josh Rogers, that will be in control. It's the start zone that they enter to as the clock starts to tick. And the Porsche at the front gets things going for the first round of the 2025 IMSA Esports Global Championship. A big jump and second slots in very nicely. A big wiggle for Alexander Spetz, who throws it off the road. Just about on cold tires, able to bring it back under control as they crest over the top of turn 3 and single file surely slingshot down into the S's for the first time of asking. It's Alejandro Sanchez in the Corvette for Coanda in control of the GTD pack as they get their season underway, and 32 cars strong rumble up towards turn 1, and it's Door Esports in the Ford that popped all the way to the inside for a moment. Fiercely forward Lamborghini under pressure from the Ford Mustang of the Apex Racing team. Crest to the top of turn 3. We saw some drama here a year ago, but the top 10 cars or so get through safely before the Lamborghini for Fiercely Forward goes around, Reese.
Yeah, certainly does. First drama for the GT field as clouds are starting to form over the circuit. Already the track is looking quite dark at the moment. Reasonably clean start for most of the GTPs, apart from the car we saw falling off the road in turn 1. Quite a difficult opening sequence, especially considering how tricky those GTPs are on cold tires, Joey.
Yeah, the cold tire warm-up, we haven't even mentioned it, and thankfully, looks like, knock on wood, over here, the majority of the field has gotten those tires up to temperature. The GTPs are already up and through turn number 3 on their second lap as we take a look at the number 95 car. This is Casey Kerwin. He is up one spot from where he originally qualified, of course, driving the number 95 car, the Channel 199 car.
And another great season for him in eNASCAR. He gets his chance to focus on turning right as well, which he's quite good at, and he's got a teammate, Owen Carroll, who's very, very rapid as well. They are a very good pairing. Carroll on loan from BS Plus competition, and just keep an eye out for them. Remember, there's a couple of cars that will peel off to pit lane, and so if you're following along on live timing, livetiming.iracing.com, you'll see Maniti, Virtus Pro, at the very least, the next 2 cars headed down towards the pit lane. The other thing that's slightly different to open this season up, Joey, is not just the addition of rain, but the fact that we start late in the evening, heading into the sunset, coming rather soon.
Yeah, you've noticed the sky is starting to turn a little bit darker, and so those headlights are going to become more and more abundant throughout the race, and I think that just kind of adds to the treachery of the potential of rain, right? Rain in itself is kind of dangerous, right? It's always slippery out there on the racetrack, but then you add the sun going down. Oh man, it is a whole lot of factors for those drivers to kind of handle while performing at the maximum.
And that's where our live race control team's going to come in, especially when the traffic starts to be a factor. Our race leader already clear, 2 seconds to the good. Race leader in GTD, only 8/10 clear. Let's take a look at the replay, figure out what some of the various incidents, Reese, that have been unfolding on the opening couple of laps of this race.
Yeah, so incident here in the GT classes. I believe this might be the issue for the Lamborghini that you pointed out. Oh, contact with the Mustang there at turns 10A and 10B. Very popular spot to try and send it up the inside, but it's a little bit faster than it looks. You do need to be well alongside the car you're trying to pass if you want to get the move done cleanly there. Fortunately, it seems no other cars involved for the moment. Our leader in GT out to a runaway lead, about 2.4 seconds as things stand.
It was Door Esports that slipped off the road. That's the same Lamborghini that had gone around on that opening sector, so not the easiest of starts to the race for Fiercely Forward, as second still under pressure here. Now almost 3 seconds the advantage, and this is going to really mean that Jordan Caruso is going to be able to attack the traffic, which he's coming up to the back of right now. So he will get free rein here, Joey, to kind of slip his way through, not be that aggressive. Jordan Johnson, on the other hand, with Diogo Pinto breathing down his neck, is going to be thinking every opportunity, how can I pick my way through without getting race control involved?
Well, you know, you say that, but our leader just had an incident in the GT traffic our first time around, so Jordan Caruso is actually going to give up the lead. Jordan Johnson in the Solpec Precision number 60 is now your new race leader. And Arjuna, this all happened down to the turn 10A brake zone. Jordan was getting in there trying to get it past as many GT cars as possible, but unfortunately just came into contact with one of them.
And so let's take a look. I was just saying, pick your way through without any drama. It's on the Simufied Porsche. Oh, just a little bit of contact and then stacks up as well. But he gets lucky, Reese. He gets turned back straight. And the question is going to end up being, is there damage to the right rear? Because Caruso was looking fast.
Yeah, he was looking incredibly quick. It was Gabby Montoro in the Simify Esports GTP that ended up making that contact. It's one line fits all for the most part through 10A and 10B. I think there might have just been a bit of miscommunication between the teams. Question is, of course, how much pace has been affected here for Jordan Caruso. The car visually doesn't look to be too damaged from that. He might have gotten away with it, but we're going to have to wait until he clears this GT traffic to see what the pace of that car actually is.
32 cars strong. It will take them a while. This, the first time past, is when the GTDs will be at their most packed up, and already the Lamborghinis with that powerful endurance bar front headlight well and truly illuminating the way as the sun continues to set. iRacing done a great job of really making this track look spectacular. You get a sense of the elevation as they come over the top of the hill, down into the S's, and then back over the top of turn 5. 1.5 seconds now the difference as we look at our Michelin weather conditions. It's relatively cool, Joey. The wind is quite strong, which they will feel in these prototypes in particular.
The prototypes do get blown around a little bit more, but when I see the wind, I think of more, you know, which direction is it really going? Because if it's a tailwind down the back straightaway here, you have to be conscious about your brake marker, right? Think about if you're carrying 2, maybe 3 mile an hour more top speed by the time you hit the brakes down there at turn number 10. So when I think of the wind, I really got to think of where is the wind coming from, which direction, because it is going to be a busy racetrack like you see all day long right now here into this big brake zone. You got to be able to take advantage of all of that wind. If it's a headwind, use that maximum braking performance to your advantage.
And as you come down over the bottom of the track here, there are some flags in the real world which you can use. We're on board with the Hungarian crew, Tamas Shimon behind the wheel, running in virtual reality. Very close in front of him between Carlos Fenolosa, who's trying to go on the offense, and Jake Dennehan, I think that was the Irishman in the grid and go number 7. That's the aggression on display. Slices through in what is traditionally flat out, but you heard the lift off as the Acura made its way through on the slower class car at what is a committed point of the track. It's a late lunge through turn 6, but this is where those split-second decisions, Reese, really come into impact as you try and judge which side of the track do you want to go to.
Yeah, Road Atlanta, an incredibly tough circuit for traffic, and even on the straight, it's like speeding down the motorway in the middle of rush hour traffic. You need to try and pick your gap to move through and hope that you don't come up on any other cars in the braking zone. It only takes a couple of corners worth of running behind a GT here to lose a lot of time on your rival, but as a prototype driver, that's just what you've got to deal with. The question is, how much pace are you going to lose? You've got to balance it. Aggression versus risk versus reward. And this is where it starts on the way out of turn 1. Bit of space towards the GTs ahead as we keep an eye on the CrowdStrike Racing car of Loic Rabier. And he tries to pick that move on the inside of the Apex Racing Team Mustang. Manages to get it done, but it won't be that easy all the time.
Great to have CrowdStrike, who are ran by Movano in the background, returning for another season. Of course, race in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship in the LMP2 class, representing the Acura here, and now looking to try and get just that little bit closer as they work onto the back straight. It's straight in all but name, though. Left and right, up and down. It's very undulating. And let's listen in to the sound of the engines as they head here through the chicane at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. So Alexander Spetz continues his recovery. He's into 15th after dropping out of the opening corner, running in 3rd. Eyes on the fight for 4th in GTD, though, where Sam Ward and the best of the BMWs is not far off of Hugh Barter, who brings with him experience in the real world, Joey, racing in Formula 3, Formula 2, but one of the handful of Drago racing drivers that come now in from the real world over to the virtual world.
We always kind of talk about that sim to reality bridge and kind of all the doors that it can open inside the real world. And like you said, Hugh Barter kind of putting that on full display. Here he is in this Aston Martin GT3 car. If you guys are unfamiliar with this one, this is a relatively newer platform, especially here on iRacing, but this is the newest GT3 machinery from Aston Martin. And of course, we've got that Team Redline car also out there in one of these makes as we ride on board here with Hugh, going down the back straightaway, doing about 160 miles an hour, maybe just over 160 before you jump on the brakes. And it's actually that second apex right there, turn number 10B. That's the most crucial one. You got to be able to put the power down because it is flat out all the way up and over the hill through start finish before you got to breathe down here for turn number 1.
You have the support paddock on the left-hand side as you fly down that main straight. You've got the main pit lane on the right-hand side as drive-through is confirmed for the 111, involved on the start up through turn 3 and then dive down at turn 10. An eventful opening lap for the Fiercely Ford 111. Great qualifying effort from Benedict Vida, but not a great way to start the season off, Reese.
No, certainly not. To be one of the first teams to be pinged by the stewards for a driving infraction. Hopefully they'll be able to recover from that one. The car that they ended up hitting, the Dory Sports Machine, is all the way down 28th position in class in the hands of Damon Woods as we check out Jordan Johnson here, taking the wheel of the Solpec Precision Racing number 60, falling to the lead after the problems for the Porsche Coanda 91, but my goodness, the lineup for that Coanda 91 is incredible. It's actually a double sub for this first round. That number 91 was registered with Charlie Collins and Elvis Rankin as the drivers, but we got Jordan Caruso and Josh Rogers providing an all-Aussie assault. Both of them past Porsche Esports Super Cup champions, so you know that they've got results to back them up, and see how much they are gaining through turn 6 and 7.
Well, and I thought he was going to get a good exit there, but Jordan Caruso not able to get as much of the power down on Jordan Johnson. As you listen in, engine sings out, hybrid at work. I do think, though, just looking at lap times, Caruso got away with that bit of contact. And doesn't seem like too much damage was done. Let's keep our eyes on that. Other points I would make on that lineup as you take a look at Johnson, bottom left, the Ohio native, Caruso on the right, is both Caruso and Rogers, Reese, aren't actually in Australia right now. They're both racing from the Porsche Coanda hub in Germany. So they are in person, which does allow them, you know how it is. It's always better when teammates are in person.
Yeah, exactly. Both Caruso and Rogers did start their careers in Australia, but they moved to Europe to take part in the more global competitions and provide and have the support provided to them from the Coanda Sim Sports Centre. You can see that the left monitor there for Caruso black at the moment, so we'll wait and see where Josh Rogers pulls into this. He'll be very close, monitoring the situation here. We'll have to think about minimum and maximum driver times at some point here as well. It's a minimum of 45 minutes in the car per driver and a max of an hour and 55, I believe. So they'll be in close communication about that for sure.
Yeah, and with the way that the fuel window usually works in these 2-hour and 40-minute races, that's not a big factor, the drive time. Drive time for the 75-minute sprints is just 5 minutes as Caruso look to the inside. If you want to learn more about this championship and maybe how to join in 2026, well, head to iRacing.com/IMSA Esports to learn more today. Qualifiers for this will run as part of a public time attack qualifier or by winning one of the broadcast splits of the VCO Grand Slam. So it's available for anyone in the public, no matter your I rating, technically, to qualify your way into. Hugh Barter under pressure from the Frenchman Johan Haag, who is at this point the veteran at the Apex Racing team. Kevin Ellis Jr. switching over to Virtus Pro has left the Frenchman very much growing the rest of the team around him as the leaders close back up, heading to turn 10. top of your screen, Jordan Johnson felt the need to dive to the inside of the World Sim Racing Mercedes. It's opened the door for Caruso to see the opportunity. And Joey, that's the opportunities that traffic will bring. And Jordan Caruso said, thank you very much.
It was beautiful racecraft on Caruso's part. He saw how busy it was going to get down there at turn number 10A, and, you know, going into the brake zone, he just completely backed out of it, just let Jordan Johnson dive in there. And unfortunately, with how fast all of these drivers are, you got to remember, all of these drivers, the top of their game, so they are no slouch out there. As you saw Jordan Johnson actually muscle one of the GT cars kind of off of the road. Check out the replay here. So we're riding on board with Caruso. Simply going to let Johnson drive it off into turn 10A. He sees him stuck on the outside of the racetrack, pulls the easiest over-under you can do, simply takes the shortest distance and accelerates for the race lead once again.
That was beautiful. Well judged. And that's the type of thing you expect from a Porsche Esports Super Cup champion. The recognition of when to make the moves and not. And there's a great YouTube video I was actually watching yesterday where Jordan got the chance to go try the Porsche factory sim. He had Ian Guven, who is a Porsche factory driver, but also part of the Coanda Esports team there, and coaching him a little bit, talking him through the experience. And then Jordan got surprised with the opportunity to drive the new and upcoming Porsche GT3 machine that's going to be hitting the racetracks around the world in 2026. So a great day for a sim racer, although Jordan has experience racing super saloons back in his native Australia. On board with Felix Quirnbach as the sun continues to set. Maximum track available on offer out of turn 5. And Reese, that is a point of contention. Track limits at Road Atlanta. Turn 3 and turn 10 are the two places where you can really pick up those 1x incident points. And here in this series, there is a 25 limit for those off-track infringements.
Yes, if you're new to iRacing, if this is the first time you're tuning into one of these virtual events, there is a safety system in play for iRacing. This is a independently hosted event, so it doesn't affect the safety rating of the drivers. There goes the leader, by the way, in GTP. But every single time you put a wheel beyond the designated track limits, you will get a single point added to your incident total. If you make contact with another car, have a look at the speed difference, especially through the final corner. Both classes flat out on the way through there. But yeah, back to my point, 4 incidents for contact with another car, especially if it causes a spin. And yeah, you need to really keep an eye out for that. It's very easy to tally up those incidents, especially over a race this long.
Exactly, yes. Now the good thing about the system in place for the series is that those 4x contacts don't get included. But let's talk about our iRacing Arcade race analysis here at the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, Joey. 2-hour and 40-minute race, minimum drive time around 45 minutes. Pit road speed, that's going to be crucial at 72 kilometers an hour, 45 miles an hour, because pit entry is committed. And that pit window, that should be fun. 45 to 50 minutes, depending on your fuel saving for the prototypes, closer to an hour for the GTDs.
Yeah, like you just said, just a little bit shorter for the prototype machine. So thankfully, pit road won't be extremely busy. It'll just be a busy place. But I'm more looking at that pit road speed, 45 miles an hour. Okay, that's no big deal to get down to. However, here at Road Atlanta, the pit entry is extremely tricky. It's off a driver's right, just over the crest of this hill right here. So you have to have the car all the way tucked in on the inside of the racetrack. And trust me, if you go up and over that hill at full speed and just kind of think, oh man, I just forgot to get into pit entry, you will miss that road.
Oh, I had the privilege of just before this year's Petit Le Mans getting a hot lap of the track in a Ford Mustang GTD by Jensen Altzman. Boy, did he display what the car is capable of, but also what this track really is all about. The undulation is so much intrinsic in how you carve your way through. As we watch this traffic from up above. Turn 7, tighter than 90 degrees. You always want to get onto the power just that little bit earlier. And that was a bit too much aggression through the traffic. Bit of ping pong played as Solpec Virtual Mindset lose ground. And now maybe 4 beams scattering over the track. It's CrowdStrike Racing that take advantage. It's Loic Rabier in 7. Casey Kerwin that's now defending from the Frenchman, the rock and rolling Frenchman, Maxime Briand. Oh, but it was all a little clumsy reset, turn 7.
Yeah, it looked to me like Robin Schwanke in the Solbeck machine. He just made the move on Olli Steinbraten in the Scuderia Ferrari GTD, and it's unclear to me exactly whether Schwanke slid over the curb there on the exit of turn 7, definitely a possibility, or if there was contact from the GTD behind. We might have to wait for the replay for confirmation of that, but regardless, it did cause a lot of chaos, and it would appear that Maxime Briand in the Apex Racing Team Cadillac was involved in that one too.
Now let's take our second look at it and try and pick our way through this. So he did get up the inside, but we've always got to remember the prototype doesn't really have traction control in the same way as a GTD. Joey, what's your take?
I think it was a combination of both, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that he had about, a couple feet at the exit of turn number 7, and just the GT cars, with how much mechanical grip they have, just barely made contact. I think it was just both.
Reese?
Yeah, I agree. Combination of both. I mean, I've driven many laps around Road Atlanta in the sim, and that exit curve at turn 7 is one of my least favorite parts of this track. It is a lot harsher than it looks, and it will spin you around, especially in a GTP machine. But, that just goes to show you need to make sure that you're well clear of the cars around you. Sometimes you just come together. That's a consequence of how tightly packed everyone is around this place.
And Arjuna, I'm just going to pick a bone with Reese real fast. He might say turn 7 is the worst curve. I think turn 5 is the worst curve here at Road Atlanta.
That's my favorite.
Specifically that exit curve.
Well, okay, so this is the difference between a real-life driver and a sim racer, because the sim racer is like, give me all of that exit curve at turn 5. The real-world racer is like, well, at turn 7, it drops off on the exit, so I'm never going to really go that wide. Yeah, no, this is, I think, I get where you're coming from, and I was at Sim Racing Expo a couple of weeks ago, and I made some iRacers go at Watkins Glen and try the iRacing line at the bus stop chicane. And they very quickly learned why you don't do that in the real world. That, by the way, is the look of, I don't even know how you describe it. That is desolation, devastation on display right now. That is Robin Schwanke.
It's tough, too, because it's the beginning of the race, right? We're not even halfway through this thing, or I should say not even 30 minutes into this thing, and I think that he thought he had executed a perfect pass, but just with how close the competition here between the GTPs, the GTDs, everybody out there, it just sometimes those millimeters matter.
And the drivers put in lots of work to compete at this level. They had to earn the right to be in their car. We have an equal number of all the manufacturers in this series, and they had a shootout a couple of weeks ago to fight for that right to be in this manufacturer. So lots of effort to get to this point. Let's give you a quick rundown then. With just over 20 minutes complete of the top 5, because we are starting to see, what can you call it, trends? Porsche Coanda are back on top, with Solpec Precision Racing hunting them down in second. BMW M Team Redline third, and a bit off the pace relative to the leaders, at least for the time being. You can see the full GTPs on the left-hand side of the screen. A second Team Redline machine with Eduardo Leo. Keep an eye out for that one. It's got Luke McEwen in the second slot, so that's a rapid pair. And they're just in front of defending series champions Williams Sim Racing Chill Blast, that sit in 5th. It's really close to the front of GTDs. We're watching Scuderia Ferrari and Marlow fight for 8th, but IMSA Esports just half a second clear. Manuel Troncoso on the chase of Alejandro Sanchez. Then Hugh Barter in 3rd. He's gained 5 positions so far today for the second Drago Aston Martin. Apex in 4th in their Ford Mustang. Team PGZ in 5th in their BMW. It's still very, very tight. And Reese, we aren't anywhere near the sun setting, and I've been keeping an eye on the weather forecast, just hoping and praying that there's something coming. 37% chance of rain in about an hour's time.
Yeah, so keep a close eye out for that. Sunset shouldn't be happening for quite some time. Still plenty of light out there on the track, even though it does look pretty dark out there. The drivers at least can still see where they're going, which is a plus. But the sky is getting more orange and darker as time goes on. I tell you what, though, when that rain eventually comes, if it does indeed come, it's going to be so treacherous out here. Looks like a race for 12th in GTP really going off at the moment, and there's technically 6 cars involved in this battle at the moment. The Grid and Go Esports, number 8, leading this one with Leslie Caspers at the wheel, chased down by the fiercely forward number 11, Marcos Nunez, at the wheel of that one. And we'll check back in with this fight as well in GTD2, the Scuderia Ferrari HB Esports team. Ollie Steinbrat, and unfortunately it looks like Race Control decided they're at fault for the incident out of turn 7 recently, Arjuna.
Well, I mean, I think we can all kind of see the argument. Yes, the prototype gets a poor exit, but it's there, it's on the racing line, and not an ideal start for a team that made one sole appearance at Daytona at the end of last year's championship, but they had a registration issue on the start of the race, and now the Mahler Racing Team and Rainer Talvar will tip them into the gravel on the exit of turn 6 and pile on the misery, Joey, for the Scuderia Ferrari HB Esports crew.
I think that the team is frantic behind the scenes right now to record that turn number, the car numbers, the incident, everything about that, because I thought that might have been a little bit over ambitious from that BMW down there into turn number 6. And especially if they were aware that the Ferrari is already going to be getting that penalty, it seems a little bit even more over ambitious.
Well, that's what our race control team is here to do. Look through all of these things as that sun continues to set. Once the sun is set, it will be difficult in the night light to pick out who is who. Headlights paving the way for these drivers on board with Marcos Nunez. At the front of this train, by the way, up to 10th is Dominic Hoffman. He's gained 5 spots from where he started. That's the car that won the final round of last year's championship. Big move from the Cadillac at the top of your screen, but keep an eye on the replay, riding with Talvar here as that Grid and Go Cadillac's now slow. The Irishman Jake Dennehan's had an issue, and Reese, here's the look and the send into turn 6.
Yeah, I mean, as we say down in Australia, the move was not on. It looked like he would have had to back out of that, but it's very tempting to fire it up the inside at turn 6 there. It's got a good amount of banking to it, so you can carry a great deal of speed through it, especially if you stick to the inside. But Rainer Talvar, I think, might have had to be a little more alongside for that move to make sense.
And, well, maybe also it got that notification that the Ferrari was going to get penalized, and maybe a bit too ambitious as a result. This is the first of the 2 BMWs for Redline. This is the official BMW M Team Redline entry, with Diogo Pinto currently behind the wheel, but paired up with Chris Lulham, who has had a blockbuster 2025 in so many ways. Raced last year in Radicals in his home country of the UK, or home region, I should say. But Joey this year burst onto the scenes, racing GT3s in Europe, and of course culminating in that memorable weekend at the Nordschleife, which was probably the most watched Nordschleife Landstracken Series race ever, where he shared a car with Max Verstappen and went on to win as well.
Yeah, you know, Chris kind of gets overshadowed from his superstar teammate in the real world, but yeah, you got to remember it is a team sport. Max does not win without Lulham out there, so Chris is doing a fantastic job taking all of his sim racing knowledge out into the real world as we check a look at the Visceral Esports car. This is Isaac Price in this Lamborghini in the number 144. This is a pretty cool paint job on this thing. I always like how sharp the Lamborghinis are, right? The GT3 cars are always kind of developing their aerodynamics, but one thing that Lamborghini just kind of as a manufacturer has stuck around is how aggressive their look is.
Now if only... Sorry, I'm just enjoying the V10 scream. If only they would keep the screaming V10 for the new GT3 car joining us next year, the Temerario, at a handful of teams, including FAF, in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, will be campaigning from Sebring onwards. I did wonder, by the way, what's going to happen with some of these machines, but a penalty that inflicts the other Grid and Go machine, not the one that was slow a couple of moments ago. This is the number 8, Wesley Caspers, on driving duties. Contact with the 118, so that is the second of the Coanda cars. Tristan Iglesias still holding on to 6th position through all of that, but that drops them to the tail end. This is what happened to the other of the Grid and Go machines, Reese. They are having a wild start to the season.
Yeah, that they are. Big dive at 10A and 10B, but looked a bit clumsy there, and the car they were attempting to pass had the inside for the next corner. That's another consequence of 10A and 10B. You know, it is a chicane, and so it does provide a good overtaking opportunity, but it's a lot faster than you think, and you can carry a lot of speed at those apexes. There's many times I've seen battles decided there with a pass on the outside. Usually, you can stick it up the inside of the second apex and get the move done, but then you got to worry about the run down to the start-finish straight. It's such a difficult sequence of the circuit.
Coming up on about 40 minutes complete when we cross the 2 hours to go mark. That puts us right on the cusp of, well, A, driver time being complete, but also pit window, at least for the GTPs. Probably a little bit further before the GTDs come in. Jordan Johnson, let's give him a shout out. Qualified in second and has been running his own race now after Caruso made the pass back for the lead. Left the Apex Racing team earlier this year, had the confidence to say that, you know, maybe something else is right for me at this time. And after his experience in the Prodigy Racing League, of course, sending sim racers and turning them into real racers, unfortunately came to an end. He has only seemingly grown his confidence and ability as part of this number 60 crew. He's got Garrett Berry joining him for this race, but Aaron Full is the traditional full-time driver for this machine that could end up being one of the underdogs, the dark horses, Joey, I guess is the way you would describe it. Although I think that's maybe unfair to Solpec, because again, they were the best of the Porsches for much of last year in this GTP class.
Well, you know, and I know Jordan Johnson, you know, from some other series as well. He competed in our Roush Pro series in the prototypes and won that as well. So Solpec Precision, Jordan Johnson, always fast out there. Is looks like the penalty for the number 110 is officially handed down. Remember, we saw him make contact with the Ferrari going into turn number 6, just this next corner on the racetrack. So evidently, race control has caught up with the 110.
Justice was swift and ultimate. And a big shout out to the team at IMSA's Race Control, by the way. We have one of them joining our virtual race control team this season, but their entire processes have helped us grow what we do here in the IMSA Esports Global Championship. I think it's about that time that we stop the talking and we turn up the sounds of the engines and sink in this golden hour sunset at the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Glorious view on board with the roaring Mercedes for Additis Racing by WSR. Let's take in this Michelin onboard view. It's the season opener of the 2025 IMSA Esports Global Championship. The sun may have set on another glorious year of full metal IMSA action. It's just a chance for the virtual scene to take center stage. Arjuna Kankipati alongside of Reese Gardner and Joey Atterbury in the IMSA Esports broadcast booth, as our field of 52 starters is still left with 51 running machines, Reese, which is quite remarkable to see. The largest ever field that the series has ever seen, and just the one retirement, and we saw the look of desolation on the face of Robin Schranker in the Solpec Virtual Mindset machine slightly earlier.
Yeah, we did. As you say, that is the only car not running at the moment. The Simify Esports machine has also spent quite a bit of time in pit lane. Gabby Montoro involved in that massive incident down at 10A and 10B earlier that almost took our current race leader out of contention, put them back into second place and forced Jordan Caruso to fight his way back to the lead. Bit of a lucky getaway for the Porsche Coanda car, but not the same for the 133. But yeah, 52 cars, 104 drivers taking part in this race here. It's a massive field, and it's enough of a task for us up here in the comms box to keep track of everything.
Yes, and which drivers are participating from round to round. We have more excitement coming up on November 16th, which will be the second round of this championship. We will have the debut of the IMSA Esports LMP3 Challenge. There's more news to come around that as we get closer to the event itself, but let's pair 12 sim racers who all qualified from a series ran by our partners at Gridfinder, and let's pair them with 12 IMSA personalities, and we've got some interesting drivers with some sim racing backgrounds as well that will put on a 20-minute race in the Ligier LMP3 car before our main event in 2 weeks' time. Top and bottom, fight for 10th in GTP, fight for 5th in the GTD class, where it's really just behind Johan Hart, where they've lost a little bit of ground now, Joey. Sam Ward in the BMW feeling the pressure from Tristan Iglesias in the Corvette, and then our defending champions, Team Redline, in the Aston Martin, solid in 7th, but once again, just looking steady at the start of this race.
And I think we're kind of coming up to our first kind of pit window. We've been racing for about 35 minutes out here, and these GTPs, like you had mentioned earlier, go about 45 minutes, call it 45 or so. So I have a feeling the window's going to be open here in the next 10 minutes. In the GTD cars, those GT cars, I think it's going to be a little bit longer, a little bit more towards that 60 minutes. And I think my biggest question, especially with this first fuel stint, everybody's always packed up at the beginning of the race. Who took advantage of that fuel saving? Because when you're in those draft packs, it makes it easier to fuel save if you got somebody punching the hole in the air, and that could dictate when you come in for this first stop.
And fortunately, we're not having to do all the energy calculations, and you won't be doing that on iRacing Arcade either. Simplify your racing experience. You can try the free demo today on Steam. Learn more at iRacingArcade.com. Coming to Steam on December 2nd, and consoles, Xbox and PlayStation, early in 2026. That was a little bit of a lifting coast from the Texan Jaden Munoz as he crests over the top of turn 3. And then just in front of him, Eduardo Leo, the Italian. That was a little bit uncomfortable through the traffic, as the EMM Porsche is the one that they dispatch of. But pushing the limits right now, Reese, that's what these drivers are doing. If they know they're light on fuel, they know they're good on time.
They certainly are, but to further my point earlier about balancing aggression versus safety as a prototype driver, I think through the first part of this circuit, willing to stay behind GTs for a couple of corners if you need to. It's often better to have a car to work with rather than being in the wall because you were too aggressive trying to lose less time. The drivers who are able to maintain that balance the best will be the ones who come out on top today.
Focus, precision. It's only a 2-hour and 40-minute race, yes, but while we called it out in our Michelin Keister race as an endurance, let's not mince our words. They are sprinting for the entirety of this race, as they will be for our split round 3. 75 minutes for the GTPs on the streets of Long Beach, and then straight after that, fly across the US to just north of the North Carolina border, find our way to the America's Motorsports Resort, Virginia International Raceway, where Joey's going to actually be going in a couple of weeks' time. And Joey, it's a wonderful track, although I think passing there is going to be an interesting challenge without the prototypes being there to add opportunities.
That's the biggest difference, right? When we're here at Road Atlanta, or when we go to Sebring or Daytona, we've got the multi-class traffic. However, that round number 3 between Long Beach and VIR, well, VIR only gets the GT cars, and while Long Beach gets those prototypes. So yes, I do think that passing, it might be a little bit of a different face to the story. However, the GT cars, I think that the drivers are really looking forward to not having to look in the rearview mirror or look in that black box relative of seeing, hey, when is this prototype coming up behind me? Is it only 1? Is it 2? Is it 3? Do I need to leave room at Apex? The GT drivers can solely focus on their own race. That's what I'm looking forward to at VIR. And yes, one of the most beautiful facilities we've got here in North America.
Although, bring back the tree, that's all I'm saying. As not deja vu, by the way, it's another drive-through penalty, but for the other of the grid and go cars. The 8 already got one, the 7 now gets one for the bit of contact at hand with CrowdStrike Racing down at turn 10 slightly earlier on. Great exit there from turn 5 in the fight for 10th in GTP as Alexander Spetz, who's already cracked his way back up into the top 10, pushes Dominic Hoffman onto the outside curb and almost into the grass, but both handled that situation well. They're in effectively identical BMW M Hybrid V8s. Only difference, the setups that they brought on the car, and maybe the amount of fuel that they've got left remaining, maybe the energy at play as well. Spetz on the inside doesn't fight that one at all, and that was beautifully judged on both sides, although I thought that was really just traffic playing its part. Down under the Fox Factory Bridge to the final corner with some slower class traffic in front. Spetz is going to have to slot back underline, and Reese eventually concedes.
Yeah, man, Dominic Hoffman must have his heart rate sky high at the moment. He's been battling for a number of laps now to make his way past Alexander Spetz there. It's not the first time he tried it around the outside of 10A either. It's good to see that he finally managed to get that done. And now with traffic coming into the play here in the twistier parts of the lap, he's managed to get himself nearly a second over the car, but that gap is going to ebb and flow as time goes on. Often you'll gain time in one spot, and then a few laps later you'll have the flow of traffic come up against you, and that may very well bring the chasing car back into contention. Alexander Spetz will certainly be looking for that kind of opportunity. He's going to have clear air for a moment here down the back straight, but Dominic Hoffman is going to find his way down to 10A and 10B with no one in front of him. He can maximize his line on the way in, just in time to come up on the Apex Racing Team Mustang. And this part of the circuit is where I would not want to come up on a GT if I was a prototype driver. It's very difficult to alter your line there, as the Apex car actually caught the grass there. Yeah, I certainly don't envy the GT's position here. They have less mechanical grip, less aerodynamic grip than the prototypes do. And they can both take that turn flat out, but the GTs have to be way more precise.
It was something brought up in the driver's briefing, that corner in particular. If we saw this, I'm going to throw Elvis Rankin under the bus. He tried to go around the outside in the first hour of the iRacing Petit Le Mans a couple of weeks ago. It did not end well for him, and I reminded everyone in the driver's briefing, let's not try that. Things are going decently so far for BMW M Team Redline, although now 11.2 seconds off the leader as Jordan Caruso continues to wind things up. Let's head down to Chris Lolland standing by with our own Joey Atterbury.
Yeah, standing by here with Chris, of course, driving this number 33 paired with Diogo Pinto. How anxious are you to get into this race car here in a little bit? And it looks like we're just getting Chris on the line here, just trying to make sure that we've got him here on comms, of course, watching on board with Pinto, his co-driver here in the number 33. Of course, this Team Redline, the BMW M Team Redline car running inside the top 3 right now. Diogo sitting about 3 seconds back from our second place car of the Solpec Precision Racing Machine. Jordan Johnson driving that, but I think when we come up to this first round of pit stops, we should be seeing some strategy cards being played, as well as the potential of weather that's going to be coming up here soon. So I think that this GTP field, especially in the top 3 here, Arjuna, are going to be closing up as we're still trying to get Chris onto the line.
You can see all the trophies behind him that he started to accumulate. So, like I said, successful year for him. Let's see if we can try this again. As by the way, Jaden Munoz, first pit stop, Williams Sim Racing into pit lane.
Well, Chris, let's see. Do we have a copy on you this time?
Yes. Yes, sorry.
Awesome.
Good.
Happy to have you joining us here in the commentary booth. Of course, your teammate running inside the top 3 right now. How anxious are you to get inside that race car?
I'm never anxious to drive in iRacing anymore. But no, the traffic looked intense with what 30 plus GTDs on the track. It's really tricky, and that seems to be the make or break for these kind of races.
Well, now you say tricky, but you've been doing a lot of new experiences here in 2025, taking a lot of your sim racing knowledge over to the real world. How tricky have you found that, or if you've actually found the translation to be pretty easy so far?
I mean, it's a different kind of discipline at the end of the day, but the same techniques that you do to extract performance. The techniques, sorry, are the same. So yes, it's a similar process to go out there and win races and extract performance, but does it translate exactly? Not yet. But no, with these kind of races that we have in IMSA Esports, like this is even closer than what I've experienced in real life. The racing is super close here, you know.
It's extremely close to those fractions of a second. And I got to ask you, are you about to get in the car here on this first pit stop?
No. Diogo will stay in for another one. Normally we do about half and half in these races, just to keep it simple.
Chris, as we talk about traffic and all of this, biggest grid that we've had this season, is that something you and the team have talked about as we also think about cold tires and how that impacts pit stop sequences?
Yes, yeah, I mean, with the way we execute the start zones, copying the format from real life, it means you hit traffic very early and then it's non-stop for 2 hours and 40 minutes, pretty much. So at least that's what it feels like from the driver's perspective. And of course, without having tire ovens anymore in iRacing, you have really tricky outlap. I mean, you're 5 seconds off or something on the first outlap, so it makes more margin for error, but also more margin to win, right? So yeah, it's just adding another element to our preparation.
Love it, more margin to win. Thanks for the time, Chris. We are right in the throes of pit stops, and quite interesting, Reese, that Williams came in with 39 laps complete, and we're already on to lap, is it 41 for Team Redline right now, who haven't showed any inclination to pit just yet. So I mean, I cast my mind back to the iRacing Petit Le Mans. There were some teams going as long as 44 laps on fuel, so we're seeing a big delta here. There's some different things amiss for sure.
Yeah, certainly. I was very curious to see both of those Williams Porsches coming in comparatively early for what we expected the GTP to do. Now pit lane is a hive of activity. We've got 5+ machines already in the pits and yet more making their way in. That's our current race leader, Diogo Pinto, at the hands of the Team Redline number 33, going to be followed in by the fellow team car, Eduardo Leo, at the wheel. But not many cars going for a driver change just yet, and that makes sense. Of course, minimum driver time is 45 minutes in this, which should be a full fuel tank in one of these GTP machines. I got to wonder if the Williams cars were monitoring where they would come out relative to the GT traffic. That could have a huge effect on your race in totality. If you come out with a pack of GTs ahead of you, you're still trying to manage those tires that have cooled down quite a bit. Yeah, I think that might be what they're going for. They're just trying to find some clear air and get back into their rhythm.
Yeah, the cool tire period is a lot more significant for a GTP than a GTD. Let's keep an eye on the gap. Jordan Caruso has been on track for 2 and a bit laps, make that 3 now as he crosses the line, but as off and away goes Diogo Pinto. Slightly short fill, so there is a slightly different strategy at foot here as 7 seconds difference forces his way through on the inside. Jordan Caruso, slow tires as they come up the temperature for Pinto. And Joey, that was forceful. You could tell the intention was there.
Yeah, wanted to get through on those quicker tires while his competitors are still warming everything up. So yeah, Jordan Caruso resumes your race lead in the number 91. But you hit the nail on the head, Arjuna. The biggest difference was that pit stop time, right? Our leader, 41 seconds stationary in the box, while that BMW M Team Redline car, Diogo Pinto, only 33 seconds stationary. So that's an 8-second difference in how much fuel they took on the board.
And so it will definitely not be a 41 lap stint, but going back to what Reese was saying with track position, let's see how far off the leaders they end up. Maybe thinking that they wanted to clear Jordan Johnson, which they have done, both Leo and Pinto, past the number 60 into podium positions. And so now, about 10 minutes before we should be through the GTD pit stop cycle, that will be quite interesting to follow. This is the look from up above at the forceful nature of the move as the 34 gets cleared first. So that's the Italian Edoardo Leo and then Reese. It's target acquired and the missile gets set.
Barely any space there on the right for Jordan Caruso to get through, but I think that is the real power of pitting 2 laps earlier, is just how much difference it makes having the tyres a little bit warmer here. These cars don't use tyre warmers, the GTPs at least, so they are ambient temperature when they get onto the car, and that means they're sliding around. They refuse to turn in initially. You need to be extremely careful on the upshifts as well, because these cars are also driving with a hybrid system, don't forget. There's an electric motor supplementing the internal combustion engine that provides maximum torque at 0 RPM. Get on the power in these things, you got all that torque going through the rear wheels. It's very easy to spin these things out, so they are only tiptoeing around once they come out of the pits.
I'm trying to keep an eye on our chat, by the way, in the IMSA YouTube, but there's so much activity. Great to have your company. You're in good hands with someone like Sean Campbell, letting you know that the weather forecast has seen the rain percentage drop quite considerably, and so now it's 15%, the highest percentage within the next 90 minutes of seeing any moisture on the track. So less likely than it is. We'll keep an eye on that for sure. So about 2.5 laps, 3 complete for Redline on their warm tires in GTP. Gap is stabilized at 4 seconds or so. Joey, this is going to be fascinating. The 2 different strategies, Porsche Coanda versus BMW M Team Redline, on display to open up the season.
And I've still kind of got my cards with that Porsche Coanda team, that number 91, and that's simply because of how much more fuel they've got on board as we get here with this 114 car as they go down the hill. But yeah, talking about those GTP leaders, that's who I was mentioning, but I think that Jordan, just with the extra fuel, plus 4 seconds out there, I think they're sitting in a very, very good position to kind of open some alternate doors. They can short fill, they can full fuel the thing again, and ultimately they still have track position.
GTD should start to see some takers to pit lane within the next couple of laps, as there is a slow car on track. The CrowdStrike number 3, Loic Rabier, gets involved, and that was the best positioned of the Acuras so far today. So we'll be quite curious to see how things went wrong for a car with an engine that was really meant to go racing in IndyCar, and a car that's going to see some development in the off-season. And when it rolls out to Daytona for the Rolex 24 in January next year, should be some evolutionary upgrades based on some of the news coming out from the real world. Take a look at the replay on the bottom here, and Reese, you'll pick through what happens to that bright red Acura, the number 3.
Yes, indeed. So Loic Rabier sees the Corvette ahead of James Bomey in the 121 for Altitude Free Esports. Move made up the inside, maybe a bit late, and it seems that the Corvette was willing to keep its position on the inside. It's so difficult to maintain the outside line at 10B there. Loic Rabier was obviously firing towards the apex as best he could, but trying to give the Corvette space. It just didn't work, unfortunately. So into the gravel trap for CrowdStrike number 3. Doesn't look like too much damage on the car, though. They just got the tires a bit dirty.
So the big green machine's going to lose a spot here as Maniti's Cadillac sees Wesley Casper slip up the inside of Daniel Luchko behind the wheel of the Cadillac. Remember, drive-through penalty for grid and go early in the race for both of their cars means they're on the fight back here, and every position down outside of the top 10 is worth 10 points, so it could be crucial. The other thing I've been keeping an eye on, Joey, is there are a number of cars that have got their warning for reaching 15 track limit violations. We're not even halfway through the race. You get a penalty at 25. So they're already more than halfway towards getting their first penalty of the day.
And here at Road Atlanta, there's several danger areas that you can circle to pretty much pick up those incident points, let alone kind of bumping and banging into your competitors out there, which can pick them up as well. So anytime you run off the track, I'm really thinking turn number 3, right? Turn number 3 is an overcrest, pretty much blind apex here in the simulator as you approach it. And if you just kind of cut that apex a little bit too much, you can pick up those 1Xs, as it looks like our GTD field is finally starting to have some pit stop takers. I was just about to mention we're about 55 minutes in as some more extracurricular activity goes down in one of our action zones.
That's Daniel Luchko, who, well, don't turn the channel. That was the same attempted pass with a different result this time. The second grid and go Cadillac made its way through, and unfortunately loss of traction as he tried to turn that car in. Maybe a bit too aggressive, the brake-by-wire system seizing up. But still 5 minutes to go before officially closing the first race hour of the season. No driver changes, Reese, from the Drago pair that sit for about 41 seconds before heading back out with a full tank of fuel for fresh Michelin tires as well. As we take a look at the replay, let's figure out what happened here first.
Yeah, so Daniel Luchko there actually got his right side wheels onto the grass there. Very tempting to run over that curb on the way into 10A, sort of widen the entry, carry more speed at the apex, but Daniel, I think, was pushing a bit too hard there. And, of course, the GTP cars don't use an anti-lock braking system. The GTD do. So prototype drivers don't have the luxury of just understeering in a braking zone. They have to worry about the rear end going free as well, especially considering that the rear axle is the one where the hybrid system regenerates its energy. Very difficult to monitor your braking input there. More pit stops, meanwhile, for our GTDs. Pit lane's an absolute hive of activity right now. Both Apex Racing Team cars are in. We also have the Aston Martin Aramco Esports Team machine in. Visceral Esports, PGZ. Yeah, it's looking like a lot of dipping and diving going on in pit lane at the moment.
Except with the Corvettes for Coanda still out there and running 1 and 2 right now. So maybe we traditionally would see Coanda in GTD running Porsches as well, but clearly the intentional choice of going with the Corvette tells us something. They feel like it's got some speed, maybe some fuel in its tank as well, and they are going to head out of the final corner and complete lap 44. So they will make one step closer to hitting the top of the hour. Just looking through the fuel timings, though, a little bit of a short fill from Harth. Does see him emerge in front of the Drago Aston Martin pair, so he was about 4-5 seconds shorter. Let's see what our championship, defending champions rather, are going to do as Enzo Benito dives into pit lane in the 101. He's following Team PGZ and Sam Warden. BS Turner hit their marks as well. Veloce Thrustmaster are in, all as the pair of grid and goes chase each other, and the sun continues to set here, Joey.
Yeah, the sun is finally kind of dropped down behind the trees. It was really brutal right here for the drivers going into turn number 5, directly shining through that windshield into their eyes. But now it's finally low enough on the horizon. We pretty much have shade everywhere around this racetrack. These grid and go cars certainly putting on a show. But Arjuna, I want to go back to your point about possibly the fuel advantage here that Chevrolet and GTD has. I saw that the first 3 out of those 4 Corvettes still out there on the racetrack, and that puts them +2, maybe even +3 laps in comparison to some of their competitors.
And now Team Redline leaving pit lane as the leaders into pit lane. So Enzo Benito did slightly short fill. He's joined Johan Harth on that slightly 5 seconds short pit stop timing. You don't need, by any means, 2 full pit stops to complete a 2-hour and 40-minute race, Reese, and I think that is what is opening this race up. It almost guarantees we'll see the driver changes next time by. As here comes the next one of the Corvettes. It means just Scuderia Ferrari HP Esports team will owe us a pit stop after this.
Yeah, and that car's already been through pit lane once, albeit for a drive-through penalty, so that maybe would have given them a chance to save a tiny bit of fuel and try and extend their stint a bit further, and that makes sense for car 150. If you've been put on the back foot due to a penalty or an incident or whatnot, you want to try and extend your stint as best you can. It allows a bit more opportunity to play with things towards the end. Pit stop complete for Alejandro Sanchez and the Coandi 181. Looks like they're going to keep the GTD lead. That is a very quick stop, only 34 seconds.
And was that a response to everyone else, also knowing that they have the fuel in reserve, having gone the extra couple of laps? Now, where does Tristan Iglesias comes out? Is he going to come out in second?
Yeah.
He will. It's Coanda 1 and 2, Joey.
Yeah,
Wow.
so Tristan Iglesias pops out in second place. He's heading down the hill right here. This is a good camera shot of him down through the S's. Now, he is going to have a little bit of that tire warm-up phase. You see Johan Harth in that Ford Mustang GT3 going through turn number 5 directly in his rear view mirror. But in terms of the delta gained, huge for the 181 and the 118. And just one last point, both of these Corvettes were turning laps faster than what they qualified there when they were running empty on fuel.
Oh, that's a scary proposition.
Wow.
Go and do an hour of racing, Reese, and still be faster than when you went and qualified the car.
Yeah, I'd be quaking in my boots if I was one of their competitors and seeing those times. Evidently, Coanda have come to play, but so have Apex Racing Team. Johan Harth puts the move on Tristan Iglesias into 10A, and it looks like Barter is coming as well in the Drago Racing 168. Pit stop for that car was more what we would expect, a bit more of a full fill for the Drago 168 at 41.5 seconds. And now all three of these cars fighting for the current runner-up position. And this is just over 11 seconds behind the leader. Here comes Barter. Looks like a bit of a blend out of the throttle there for Iglesias.
So is that back to the fuel saving? And I was just also wondering, Manuel Troncoso was the best of the Drago pair in the early stint of the race. Now Hugh Barter, the best of the Drago machines, the 168 up to third spot. It was a nice move. Maybe still cold tires, coming back up to temperature as Troncoso now gets into the draft of Iglesias. Riding, looking rearwards from Johan Harth, who's raced for many a year across of Road World Championships, Formula Cars, Porsche Esports Super Cup. He's an iRacing Rallycross World Champion. He's a jack of all trades and master of quite a few as well. But he's got Hugh Barter with all that real-world experience carrying forward into the sim. You can tell we're late at night, not only because the headlights are on here, Joey, but the LEDs are starting to get a little bit more illuminated as well.
It's fun with the endurance racing, especially in the last decade, right? A lot of these manufacturers and teams have come up with some pretty cool lighting characteristics on their vehicles out there, and it's really neatly modeled here in the simulator as well. I think that iRacing has done a terrific job, especially with those endurance light packages.
And I called out the Lamborghini with its light pack. If we ever see one of those, that front light bar is a Lambo special that can well and truly blind the drivers that it's chasing down. Hugh Barter, who's jumped between a couple of teams across the sim racing journey, including the Apex Racing Team. That hand up from Johan Harth, Reese, there's a bit of frustration starting to seep through, and Johan, sometimes when he lets his temper get the better of him, does start to break, but I think for the time being he settles himself back down into the rhythm, as onto the back straightaway, no traffic really close by. Here comes the race leader, Jordan Caruso, still behind the wheel of that Porsche Coanda number 91. And he might slip past on the inside and hold Barter at bay for the time being. Very, very helpful there, Reese.
Yeah, that was serendipitous there for Johan Harth. It stopped Barter from really going for the move, but here comes the Solpec car on the inside of the final corner as well. Maximilian Muir at the wheel. So that's going to bring the momentum down a little bit as Barter goes for the dive at turn 1. Oh, goodness me. He had a lot of focus on his face as he was making that move, and I don't know how surprised Harth was at that. His expression didn't betray much, but if that were me, I'd be in shock. That was quite the move. Barter now up into second place, and it's that this battling has brought the gap a little bit higher to the race leader for the moment, but I think with the pace that Barta can carry now that he's in clear air, he might start eating into that gap that Alejandro Sanchez has.
I'll tell a story about the iRacing Bathurst 12 Hours earlier this year. Hugh Barter put it on pole position for Drago Racing before. Sitting on the grid, he saw everyone else going to wet tires. He thought, let me reset and see what would happen. He missed the start and had to drive all the way through the field and ended up finishing that race in second. Exactly what we wanted to see. So the Solpec 62 is back out onto track, but what happened to the 60 as Jordan Johnson tries Joey up the inside of the very fast turn 6 and doesn't quite work out.
We saw a very similar incident. Remember that number 110 GTD car with the other Ferrari in that same exact corner. So very similar incident. However, this time it was the prototype of Jordan Johnson going up the inside. And I'm sure that race control is going to be taking a look at that one as well. And it's exactly not what the number 60 car wanted at this point in the race. Jordan has done such a terrific job to really hang out inside the top 5. And he was just trying so hard to get through the GT traffic that ultimately a little bit of a mistake.
As officially 1 hour now complete, the lead gap has grown. 6 seconds the advantage for Jordan Caruso as Coanda sit on top in both of our classes as the headlights pave the way at the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Arjuna Kankipati joined by Reese Gardner and Joey Atterbury with our production team at iRacing, bringing you all of this coverage. Thank you so much for joining us. It's the biggest entry list that we've seen, the strongest entry list that we've seen for the IMSA Esports Global Championship. And we have had some of the best viewership as well and some great conversations going on in chat. On board with the Ford Mustang as it crests over the top and then plunges down the hill. That is a real roller coaster of a ride when you're there in the real world. And then traffic continues to fly its way past. And so with the return of the 62, which I hadn't actually caught, so thank you, Reese or Joey, whichever one had mentioned that. That does mean that we're back to 51 cars circulating around the track, Reese. Just Virtus Pro now confirmed as a DNF in our opening round of the season.
Yeah, I think you can credit Joey with putting you onto that one, Arjuna. Yeah, good to see that Maximilian Muir is back out there. In fact, yeah, now that I remember, we did see that car coming through on our GTD second place battle a few laps ago. So let's see if they'll be able to get something resembling a result here. The amount of time they spent in the pits was frankly crazy. And well, they are still behind every single GTD out there at the moment. New penalty for car 107 for contact. They will end up touring through pit lane very shortly, I'm sure. Every driver hopefully has read the rule book by this. We realize that you have 3 laps to serve that penalty, Arjuna, but we're almost at 1 hour gone.
We are now almost at 90 minutes left to go as well. How time flies when you are having fun. And that is what the return of the 2025 IMSA Esports Global Championship has brought. Let's take a look at some of the highlights of the opening hour at Porsche Coanda. Jordan Caruso got the season underway, while Alexander Spetz slipped off into the gravel trap on the outside of the opening corner. Some contact between Door Esports, the fiercely forward Lamborghini, saw some strife at turn 10, which has been the problem spot through the day. And while Porsche Coanda came unstuck, they also found their redemption, making the move and grabbing the race lead back. A little bit of contact for Solpec Precision Racing as well for Scuderia Ferrari HP Esports team. There has been a lot going on as the sun sets here in Braselton, Georgia. And just one by one, penalties accrued and race control being busy. On the other side of pit stops, it was a bold slide up the inside. The Porsche Coanda driver not to be deprived of the race lead as Team Redline on cold tires got back up to speed. Today's coverage of the IMSA Esports Global Championship is brought to you by Michelin, the official tire of IMSA. Michelin is the exclusive tire provider for all classes of the WeatherTech Championship, Michelin Pilot Challenge, and VP Racing Sports Car Challenge Series. And by AMD. The AMD Ryzen 9 9950X 3D processors with second-gen AMD 3D V-Cache technology is now available for a massive gaming performance boost. And and by VCO. Catch the next round of the Esports Racing League on iRacing next Saturday, November 8th. And by iRacing Arcade. Wishlist iRacing Arcade today, coming December 2nd to Steam and consoles in early 2026. Arjuna Kankipati alongside of Reese Gardner and Joey Atterbury. Let's run you down the GTPs with Porsche Coanda on top after putting it on pole position. But what a up and down fight they have had to go through. Caruso shares the car with Josh Rogers. They'll do their driver change in the next pit stop sequence, and we'll see the return of a multi-time Porsche Esports Super Cup champion. Behind them, it's the chasing BMW M Team Redline. Diogo Pinto sharing the car with Chris Lullum. But leading in GTD, it's the Corvette for Coanda Esports. Alejandro Sanchez, new recruit for the team, is paired up with the young Florida native Xander Reed. And they find themselves with a dominant 12-second advantage at the front of the field as the seconds tick away. 1 hour and 30 minutes left to go in the opening round of this 4-race season. Reese, I'll come to you with 51 cars still out there and running. Traffic's busy, the sun is setting. Job one has been done though from most of the teams. They've survived, they've put themselves in a position to finish the race.
That they have. Now they need to deal with the ever-darkening conditions here. And it looks like we think this car's just served this penalty. Stop plus 30 seconds for the IMSA Esports car for an unsafe rejoin. Of course, race control will be monitoring everyone to make sure that they don't rejoin the track at 90 degrees to the racing line. That's certainly not ideal, but yeah. Oh dear, a penalty for the 60 as well. That is the Solpec Precision Racing car that's currently running in 5th place. Jordan Johnson from that penalty at turn 6 with car 167. The contact we caught on replay there, another drive-through for them. So I guess that's one of the aspects that these teams will be working through, Arjuna, is the fact that no one is safe from the hammer of race control.
No, grid and go. All 3 of their cars have picked up a penalty so far today, and one Solpec Precision machine found itself in some big trouble early doors. The other one now, after running as high as 2nd, is going to drop to the tail end of the field. Still 19 GTP cars within around 70 seconds of one another. The second of the Coanda Corvettes is back up into 4th place. I was about to say Coanda Porsches because Coanda, Tristan Iglesias, purple and orange. It all screams 911 to me, but on the hunt of the Frenchman Johan Hart as they head down this back straightaway. And it's getting darker and darker. Joey, I get the feeling within the next 30 minutes we are plunged into pitch black, and at that point, with no lighting around the track, you better have your references dialed in because they are going to be hard to see.
Thankfully, though, these drivers should have had enough practice times that they can pretty much do this racetrack with their eyes closed. And I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago, over at Real Petit Le Mans. In fact, we had one of the prototype cars kind of have a light out sort of issue, and I believe they continued on, and ultimately the headlights came back on and was able to continue. But yeah, it's going to get really dark, but I want to add to the point about the darkness. We've kind of been teasing this rain, teasing this weather, and with it about to go pitch black out here, it is just going to make it even more treacherous if we get that precipitation.
Well, as the Solpec car, I think, heads to pit lane to serve that penalty. Yeah, the weather gods crafted this plan where rain was predicted around halfway through, a somewhat strong likelihood to the end of the race, but those gods have not been so kind in their judgment, and we have been deprived of any moisture on the track. That challenges the best of drivers. Hugh Barter, by the way, is past both the Apex and the Coanda machines into 2nd. Last lap by was the grand total of about 34 thousandths quicker than Alejandro Sanchez. Reese, we are talking the finest of margins here, and so to have an 11.5-second gap with an hour and 10 minutes complete, I think Coanda, yes, there's some strategy mixed in there. Around 8 seconds of that gap is related to the shorter pit stop, but Coanda find themselves in a very strong position.
That they do. Gap for The GTD lead sits at about 11.5 seconds at the moment, and Barter there just ahead of Johan Harth, who's dealing with some P traffic. Looks like that's the race-leading Porsche, I believe, that's just come through there, unless I'm very much mistaken. But yeah, I've got to wonder what Coander's full game plan is here in the lead of GTD. Not only do they have the full tank to think about, but a short pit stop as well, Arjuna.
I can't wait to see how this cycles out. 2 hours and 40 minutes does mean drivers have plenty of flexibility when it comes to determining their strategy. Casey Kerwin's jumped out of the car and Owen Carroll's in, so let's have a chat with Casey. He's standing by with Reese.
Certainly is. Hello, Casey. Things going all right for the moment here. It's been a big challenge for this race so far. You're obviously as familiar with Road Atlanta as anyone. The traffic has been harsh.
Yeah, definitely. It's crazy out there. I enjoyed very much so getting to do the start and enjoy all the traffic chaos. It's my favorite thing about multi-class racing. Yeah, we're doing okay. I think don't have the greatest pace in the world, but I think we're kind of maximizing so far what we got. Yeah, we'll see how it all shakes out. I felt like we were pretty unlucky with traffic as well in the first stint, but yeah, still a decent ways to go, so hopefully it can kind of swing back in our favor a bit. Yeah, just have a clean race, should end up with a decent result, so yeah, hopefully it shakes out okay in the end.
Yeah, you were one of the few GTP teams to actually make that driver change at the first pit stop. Are you planning on keeping Owen in there until the end of the race?
Yeah, I'm definitely just a tick more off of Owen than I'd like to be, so and yeah, my driving wasn't the greatest, traffic management wasn't the greatest. Yeah, I feel like I've been pretty busy as of late, so I haven't really been able to kind of get back in the swing of this stuff as much as I normally have after our NASCAR season's done. So yeah, just feel more confident with Owen in the car right now. So yeah, once we got through the first stint, he's going to take it to the end and probably have a bit more pace than I would. So yeah, with that said though, felt decent, and with a bit more time come Sebring, we'll be back on it.
Casey, I know that you've kind of fallen in love with sports car racing. You go out to Long Beach now every year. What's your favorite thing about sports car racing, though? Because there's so much to love, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, I always say the coolest thing is there's just so, like, especially going in person, there's just so many different sounds, so many different looks, all the different manufacturers. There's something for everyone's different taste. Obviously, I love the Cadillac, and obviously the Aston Martin Valkyrie in real life now too, as well as it's sensational. And yeah, just the access you get when you go to an IMSA race, you get right up close with the cars and drivers walking around the paddock and everything. And yeah, it's awesome. I can't recommend it enough. And yeah, I was actually at Le Mans, you know, I guess a month ago now, and yeah, was yeah, an awesome event. It's an amazing track in person, and yeah, I got to see a lot of people from the community out there. It was obviously an amazing crowd and an amazing race, and yeah, I love going to every race that I can go to, and yeah, try to go to a bunch of different tracks, kind of a new track every year, it seems, and yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Sounds like I should be insulted. You didn't find me. I'm hard to miss at the end of the day on the grid
That's
walks.
true,
But
that's
Casey,
true. I wasn't on pit road enough. Wasn't on pit road enough.
Fair enough. Thanks for joining us, Casey. We'll see you in a couple of weeks over at Sebring.
Sounds good. See you guys.
Always good to catch up with Casey, who, like we mentioned, has been busy wrapping up his NASCAR campaign for 2025. Back in the fight for fifth, where the second of the Drago Aston Martins is starting to lose a little bit of ground, if we're being honest here. The Matador, Manuel Tramcoso, has got our defending champions also in an Aston Martin directly behind him. Team Redline, Enzo Benito, Luke Crane's favorite Redline driver. And then Sam Ward, and the best of the BMWs, Joey, up in 7th place and doing a great job to be the best of the BMWs, with 2 BS competition BMWs entered as well, who are customer BMW teams.
Yeah, this is a 3-car fight, call it, for what is 5th place. Troncoso in this lead trio in that Aston Martin here, and then of course Enzo Benito giving chase, and like you heard Arjuna just say, Sam Ward in that BMW, the caboose on this 3-car train as we go through turn 10A and 10B here at Road Atlanta. And you can see the lights have officially been turned off. Maybe the sky a little bit sherbert still, but you see the sparks from the splitters, the diffusers, as these cars are hitting the pavement out there, and we really kind of get a sense of what Petit Le Mans is like.
I tell you what better way to do that than turn up the sounds, take in the sights, and this is iRacing Full Throttle in the IMSA Esports Global Championship. Horizon, but we are in the thralls of a battle up and down through our 52-car grid here in the 2025 IMSA Esports Global Championship. A big thank you to AMD and Michelin, our partners this year, for making this possible alongside of the team at iRacing, VCO and IMSA. Fight for third, starting to lose some ground to Hugh Barder as he runs away. Arjuna Kankipati alongside of Reese Gardner and Joey Atterbury. And this is where we can start to speculate, Reese, a little bit on fuel. This is where, in that first pit stop sequence for GTD, there were a few differences, and Hugh Barder went longer in the lane, theoretically has more fuel in his car, but is amongst the fastest cars on track right now.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is the extra little bit of stability that extra fuel gives you. Like, yes, you have a heavier car, but the fuel tank in the Aston Martin being a front-engine rear-wheel drive car, the fuel tank is more towards the middle or the rear of the car, so it does stabilize the rear end a bit more. And having driven that Aston GT3 myself on the sim, it's one of the more stable packages in the GTD roster. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the next pit stop is going to turn out like for this fight. You mentioned, of course, that Hugh Barder had the longer first pit stop. Well, logically, he should be spending even less time in the pits on the next stop, so that may allow him to leapfrog these guys a bit further.
To learn more about the IMSA Esports Global Championship, head to iRacing.com/IMSA-esports. qualifiers are open to the public. We had a time attack qualifier about a month ago to find the majority of the teams competing out on track today. But if you want to take things a little bit easier, maybe just kick back on the couch with a controller, try out the free demo for iRacing Arcade on Steam today. Learn more at iRacingArcade.com. Wishlist it on Steam because it's coming December 2nd, and I am refreshing that page as much as I can for the next 30 days, waiting to put my credit card down and pick up iRacing Arcade, coming to consoles in early 2026. We have started to see the penultimate pit stops for GTPs as we clue in on our Michelin keys to the race. And I'm starting to get to the point of throw out the math and race here, Joey, because this is only 30 laps into the window as Eduardo Leo jumps out. Luke McEwen takes over.
Yeah, that's exactly why you saw the car disappear, is because there is a driver change in that number 34. So the new driver is hopping in the car right now, and they'll be getting back out there. But yeah, a little bit of a head scratcher, an alternate strategy, call it, for the car in pit lane, that number 89 right now. The first stint, they were doing about lap 39, lap 40, lap 41 when they came in. And right now, our leader, Jordan Caruso, is on lap number 34 of his stint as we see the number 33. This is the other BMW M Team Redline car. So Diogo Pinto coming down pit lane. So more alternate strategies, a little bit of the short fill here in the middle stint.
And they did short fill the previous time as well, but maybe I had slightly miscalculated when to expect them in, as that means Caruso now leads from the Williams Gaming Club, who will also be down on pit lane sooner rather than later. A very, very busy time for GTPs, who cannot make it to the end from here. They are a little bit too far from that window. GTDs, in 14 minutes' time, will be just within that 60-minute window as Moreno Sarica off the track as the Williams Gaming Club Porsche 963. Now that's not the defending champions in class, that's a sister car, but slow on the exit of turn 3 out through the S's. And I get the sneaking suspicion we've just had our second DNF of the day, as eyes focus still on this fight behind Hugh Barter, as the second of the Drago Racing cars, Manuel Troncoso, still looks in the rearview mirrors as Benito and Ward starting to pile the pressure on here, Joey.
Yeah, and you know, just that incident that you were mentioning, I think it's the number 89 car that was also involved in that, as we watch these Aston Martins go down into turn number 1 side by side, and it looks like the 181 is going to slip up the inside. And check out the BMW now. That's that third car line. He wants a piece of the action.
Oh, no.
Contact at turn number 3, sends the 169 around, and you got to be careful rejoining the racetrack right there at that point.
The Matador, the one that gets spun after Enzo Benito with the beautiful lunge up the inside at turn 1. He made that move cleanly. It's Sam Ward in the Team PGZ BMW that's going to be under review without any sort of questions. Alexander Spetz is into pit lane in the 69. He's going to hand over to Ate Kauppinen. So right around halfway through this race, that's what Chris Lullen was telling us. Do half the race, Diogo Pinto would do half the race as well. That's what some of these teams have been cluing in on. Reese, this is the look at, well, how that bit of contact played out through the opening sector.
Yeah, and this is a similar situation to what just put the Williams Gaming Club number 10 out. A pass made into turn 1, and the car behind trying their best to take advantage at turn 3. On the way into the corner, tipped around by the BMW, and, well, that was a bit of a close call right there. That could be an unsafe rejoin in the eyes of race control. Just completed in time for the next sequence of cars to come through. Yeah, far from ideal, but that section of the circuit is where we see most incidents like that. It's one line fits all through there. Passes can be made, but you've got to be willing to alter your line if need be at a moment's notice.
And really, to jump in here, I'm surprised, Arjuna, that we haven't seen more incidents at turn number 3. I think that typically at Road Atlanta, also circle turn 3 and turn 5, but we've seen the action zones be turn 6 and turn 10 today.
I wonder if the driver's briefing did something to talk the driver into certain moves but not others. But that's neither here nor there. We'll be curious to hear the reaction of the drivers post-race, because again, I keep saying it, biggest field that we've ever seen, and we've done it at the smallest track on the schedule as well. It's asking for chaos. We haven't seen it just yet. Porsche Coanda into pit lane, and this is where I start to get excited. It's not to discredit Jordan Caruso by any means, because boy is he quick. But it's been a while, Reese, since we've seen Josh Rogers in a major iRacing competition, and he is taking onto the iRacing track for the first time in several years in a top-level competition.
So good to see him back. I remember commentating Josh Rogers' exploits in V8 Supercar competition down here in Australia and New Zealand, and he was an absolute freak on speed. Let's see what his first laps in the race are like. He's got a Herculean task ahead of him, coming out in 4th place in the car that's been leading the majority of this race, and he's already got some pressure from behind from Samuel Michaels and the CrowdStrike Racing Machine. Contact made, and Rogers is immediately in the wall, and you can tell how unhappy he is with that. That car's destroyed. He had to get into the pits. Oh no!
And I think justified in his frustration. He is vulnerable, defenseless on cold tires, and Joey, the CrowdStrike car shoves it up the inside. You can see the disbelief on Caruso's face, but that's going to be a talking point for the rest of the afternoon or evening, wherever you are in the world.
A huge talking point, and you're right, I think that they're both equally frustrated, but I want to draw back about an hour ago. You remember how aggressive Caruso was sliding down the inside of the S's to maintain that lead? That move looked almost identical, except one car did not want to give it up.
Well, we were asking for drama, weren't we? And we've just had a little bit of it. That was Sam Michaels behind the wheel of the number 4. And guess what? Benefit of the sim world. Let's spool up the replays, place the cameras where we want to be, and jump onto the roof here, Joey, of that Movano car with tires up to temperature and fuel low as well.
So you're going to see Rogers try to pinch the car. I think it was just a hesitation from the car behind that ultimately made the contact. I feel like if it was 100% commitment going down the hill, kind of like we saw Caruso make that pass earlier, it might have been a little bit of a different story, but that's a tough pill to swallow.
And the dominant lead that they had at one point thrown away in one blink of an eye. That is what racing is all about, isn't it, Reese? The highs and lows. And unfortunately, we were talking about the highs of having Josh Rogers join us once again in an iRacing competition, and how quickly things have swung around.
Yeah, I've been reviewing that incident on my end, and I get the feeling a part of it was Rogers just trying to get the car turned in for the next corner. Don't forget, it was stone cold tires on that Porsche, and yeah, well, I mean, you can tell right there, seat empty for Josh Rogers and for Jordan Caruso as well. They are meeting in between their rigs, a little bit of a debrief here at Coanda. Remember, these guys aren't the regular drivers of this car. They subbed in for the regular pairing of Charlie Collins and Elvis Rankin. We were all expecting big things from the two Australians racing from Europe, but ultimately all of that effort has come to naught. I'm just stunned, Joey.
Yeah, and ultimately, I just think that when they go back and review this, yes, they're going to be very, very frustrated with being taken out of the race, but when they go back and realize, well, we had multiple seconds, you know, probably 10 plus seconds on our next car that was just actually coming down the hill. So, like I said, a really tough pill to swallow. However, you can always go back and learn something from it.
So I think technically net race leader now is BMW M Team Redline. Yes, CrowdStrike are in the race lead, but they are 38 laps into the stint. At most, let's say they'll go another 4 laps, so that will see them pit before 60 minutes will be left on the clock. And so my math means that, yeah, no, I think Chris Lullum is still in in a great position, although a word in our ear was CrowdStrike Racing on their cameras have been very excited about hitting the front of the field. There you can see the last pit stop lap. They are working lap number 80 right now, so it's 38 and counting for the leader in GTP. We've been focused on GTP for a little bit. Let's go back to GTD momentarily, just to call out a couple of drivers having a very strong performance. And I'll start, Reese, with the IMSA Esports Lamborghini. Raphael Renhofer's up 8 positions, not quite cracking the top 10 just yet. But that's been a good day for them. Will crack the top 10 after this. The drive-through penalty for Team PGZ, which has just come through for the slam dunk contact we saw with Manuel Troncoso. Also a very strong day for Sheza Esports. Their Chevrolet Corvette maybe not having the same fuel advantage, Reese, as what we're seeing from Kawanda at the front. But they're +9, they're up to 15th.
Yeah, and still with an hour to go in the race, that's a great position for the car to be in there. Yeah, 10 positions gained this far into the race is certainly nothing to sneeze at. The PGZ 119 was up quite a few positions themselves, around about 7 places as things stand. There's an awful lot of drivers in this field who would hope to be a lot higher than what they are. Meanwhile, here is the battle for P2. Drago Racing with Hugh Barter at the wheel has had Johan Half breathing down his neck for a long time now. And here comes Johan for the move into 10A and 10B. Let's see if Tristan Iglesias can make himself a part of this as well. Looks like they've got some lap traffic in between them.
Wisely backs out, uses the flashing headlights to signify to the lap traffic to pull out of the way. That's the EMM Porsche. Down in 30th spot, and Julian Reimer has been dinged with a stop and hold 30 seconds, let's not forget, for his contact earlier in the race. Looking backwards from Hugh Barter, born in Japan, but flew out to spend most of his childhood in Australia, where I believe he is still racing from. And now, with that gap up to the race leader, back up to 10.6 seconds, it's come and gone. At no point has it ever really come down significantly below about 8 seconds or so. Sanchez and Barter managing the race quite well at this stage. If anyone did want to gamble though here, Joey, if they're willing to, wait 3 minutes, they could come into pit lane and then make it to the end of the race. If they see somewhere on track that's clear, they think track position is worth it.
They certainly could, and I was actually just about to do those numbers for the GTD cars as well, because it looks like, for the most part, everybody on one more stop can make it all the way to the end. You just have to get to that fuel window, and honestly, I think the most dangerous car of this trio that we're watching is actually the Corvette that's just behind that Tristan Iglesias car, that 118. Because remember, both of those Corvettes went +3 laps in comparison to all of their other competitors around them, at least inside the top 5. So if you're looking for a little bit of a strategy call out, definitely check out that Kawanda Esports 118.
There's a lot of conversation, consternation, probably both words accurate in chat around that incident, and different mindsets, different views on it, which is what racing's all about. And as far as I am aware, Race Control are taking a look at it, so we will probably hear from them at some point. CrowdStrike are in pit lane. The number 4 puts Marcus Hamilton behind the wheel. Number 3 is pitting from the lead, and so, as expected, pit stops, Reese, before we reach the top of the hour. So these are teams that are going to have a slightly short pit stop now, and a slightly short pit stop with, probably around 25 minutes left to go on the clock.
Yeah, you try to put a 45-minute full tank stint into a 2 hour and 40-minute race. It doesn't quite work out. 2 hours and 40 minutes, of course, being 160 minutes in length. Oh, car off. That's the Apex Mustang. Something going wrong there at the final corner there.
And that is
would appear for contact with a prototype, it seems.
It is the 4th place Mustang. There are 2 of these Apex Mustangs, so one down in 14th. Alex Gall at the wheel of the 191, but the 199 has now lost some track position. Although, granted, it could have been a lot worse, because He's still only about a second back from Tristan Iglesias, and if there's contact with the prototype down at the fast turn 12, doesn't usually mean it was a pretty incident, and Joey, it could have got a whole lot worse. So down under the Fox Factory Bridge they go, on the outside, and the prototype has to check up to avoid running into the Drago Aston Martin in front, and Hart doesn't quite see it coming.
No, Harth was just trying to stick back onto the racing line and just barely misjudged getting back onto it, but thankfully did not make any impact in the wall, because at turn 12, you're coming downhill at a very high rate of speed, and if you get pushed off in a loaded corner like that, it can definitely be dangerous. Let's take a ride on board. So this is a replay down on the bottom half of the screen here. We're going to see a prototype slip through the inside, try to judge it. Oh, and it just wasn't there. Look at how close it was to those tire barriers out there, about a car width from Johan Hart, having a much worse day. But talking about the strategy really fast before we get back to the racing, the GT class, the GTD cars, 55 minutes kind of is their pit window, at least from what we saw in the first stint. So as long as they can make it another 5 more minutes on fuel, their pit window is officially open for those early stoppers if they choose to.
By the way, CrowdStrike did pit for only 30 seconds, so shy of a full service by close to 12 seconds, so that's a considerable short fill. We'll see them into pit lane sooner rather than later. Team PGZ came in to serve their drive-through penalty, picked up another drive-through penalty for speeding in pit lane, so not ideal for them. They technically could come back down with now 60 minutes left to go in the season opener of the 2025 IMSA Esports Global Championship, but they are very much now trying to fight back in the closing stages. Red line, the BMW M Team red line machine that leads. The second car is just the regular Team red line entry, but don't count Luke McEwen out as we talk about our total prize pool. $25,000 split across our two classes. 5,000 going the way of our champions to be split across the team, which, Reese, you did kind of note this. For Porsche Coanda, they weren't using the two quote-unquote full-season drivers who aren't allowed to race for anyone else in the championship. Instead, it sounds like we're going to get a rotating cast of bandits. We'll see Caruso, Roger, Dane Warren, as that's confirmation, penalty for the number 4 for the contact that took Porsche Coanda out. But we'll see Rogers, Caruso, Dane Warren, Mitchell DeYoung, Charlie Collins, and Elvis Rankin across the course of the season. So however they're going to mix up the 6 drivers, we'll leave that up to them, and we'll figure it out as we go.
Yeah, indeed we will, and it makes total sense why Rogers was so mad at that incident, because a win on the cards out of the first round would have been a great way to start the season for Coanda, and would have been one step closer to potentially sharing $5,000 of prize money between those drivers. So opportunity unfortunately missed for Coanda 91. They'll have that small commiseration of the penalty being handed to the number 4 there. 58 minutes remain, and now it's just a question of who can pick up the pieces from the incident for Coanda. At the moment, that BMW M Team Redline machine is looking good. Here's the race for 8th in GT. Meanwhile, Veloce Thrustmaster. We're not getting much of an opportunity to look at the spec maps that we were talking about in the countdown to green, but still looks very nice under the lights, doesn't it?
Yes, no, this is the fight for 8th. As mentioned, Alessandro Bicos gained 2 spots. Veloce Thrustmaster gained 4. Raphael Renhofer in that EMM Porsche, or Lamborghini, excuse me, is up 9 positions so far today. Especially in a field of 32, if you don't qualify well, you really cannot let yourself get too disheartened. It's a little bit different than the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, where of course there's a GTD Pro and GTD class, where the class split introduced for this year really did change up how things operate. But just a big class of sports cars all fighting with one another. It's a couple of fights in this class, by the way, not just this fight for 8th, there's a fight for 17th as well, which does involve one of the real IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship teams crossing over into the virtual world. We have the Windward Esports by Sensit Haptics number 148 Winwood, of course, champions in the GTD class this year. Although Joey, the Winwood Esports operation, a little bit more of their German side of things. And so it's great to see what is a truly international team where the team owners are both regular competitors in the IMSA WeatherTech and IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge Series. So great to see Winwood Esports join the fun this year.
And here is that number 148 car. So all of you real world race fans, you're used to seeing that Winward Mercedes car up at the front of those GT4 races, the GT3 races, winning those famous endurance races such as Daytona 24 and whatnot. So this is their esports team, and I think that Winward has really done a terrific job, call it the last 5 years or so, kind of since they kind of jumped on the scene. They started with those GT4s and then instantly grew to that global outfit, and now you can see them really racing all around the world, and not only in the real world, but here in the simulator as well.
Great exit out of turn 5 for the German Tom Ryer, but he's not close enough to get to the inside of Henry Jocelyn. It was confirmed. I don't think that... Oh, as he gets into the back, the Zebra for BS Plus competition sends it up the inside, and they just about slipped through safely. That could have been a little bit closer. Yeah, I think it was missed at the end of the coverage at Petit Le Mans a few weeks ago, but it was confirmed to us by Russell Ward, team principal of Winwood Racing, that we will get not just one GTD entry next year at Daytona, but we'll also get a GTD Pro Mercedes entry from the team. That should be quite exciting. We ride with the Mahler Racing team. Ryan Barneveld, the Dutch driver, sits in the 110, currently in 11th position. And the word in our ear, Reese, was that this is Evan Pasoko's favorite rig that he's seen of the drivers so far today. You've got the ultra-wide screen in front of you. You've got the extra screen up above you for all that extra bit of information. Oh, and one more screen in front of you replicating a digital dash.
Well, one of the things that I love the most about sports car racing in the real world is variety, mechanical diversity. It's the same for sim racing rigs as well. We got drivers in this series racing with virtual reality headsets. We got drivers running single screen, triple screen, ultra wide monitors like we're seeing for Ryan Barneveld here, and a great amount of peripherals available for that one. So pit stops are on once again here for our GTD cars, and it looks like the Redline 101 reigning champion team is one of the first in here. They are joined by Apex Racing Team 199 machine. Luca Kita is going to jump into that one. Florian Lebigre as well in the Team Redline 101. Things starting to get interesting as well for the Drago Racing car. They have lost some time to Tristan Iglesias behind them. The fight is back on with the Apex car, the Apex Mustang, briefly out of the picture, Joey.
And so I think that we'll probably see Hugh Barter into pit lane. Well, maybe next time by. Alejandro Sanchez has dived his way in, so I think we could end up seeing 53 minutes to go. It's the trigger. No, the second Corvette stays behind, watches as that's Chris Lullum slices through the race leader in the BMW M Team Redline machine. But this is also, Joey, an interesting time for a driver to jump in as Alejandro Sanchez hands over the race leading Coanda Esports car to Xander Reed. Night has set. References are slightly different, but at least you're not transitioning through the sunset itself.
Correct, and just talking about these pit stops right here, yes, the fuel window is open. So for the GTD cars, by the map, 55 minutes is when they can make it to the end of the race, and that is done by the hard data from the first fuel stint. Now, it doesn't mean that they have to come in right now. By my math, they could probably carry on about another 10 minutes. This car that we're watching right now of Hugh Barter is on lap number 40. We saw the Chevy Corvettes be able to stretch it to about lap 45, maybe even lap 46. We're going to see if this Aston Martin can kind of stretch that fuel mileage, or if he's going to come in at about lap number 41, 42. We saw the Astons kind of stretch it to 43 as well, so I think that there's options on the table for this driver.
Getting darker and darker as we head towards the closing stages of this race. We'll not see any dark running at Sebring next time out, I can promise you that. But who knows, when we head to Daytona to close out our championship, it's been traditional for us to start in the dark and head into the sunrise. So it could be an interesting transition for all our drivers. 51 minutes left to go. Here comes the 169. So that is Manuel Troncoso, still waiting for Hugh Barter. I think what Tristan Iglesias has done here, Reese, is very smart. We saw him lose out not one but two positions in a couple of corners about 45, 55 minutes ago. But he's just been saving fuel. He had a 4-second shorter pit stop than Hugh Barter, and he's been trying to minimize the deficit as the rest of the class continues to pit. Here comes the second of the Apex Ford Mustangs.
Yep, Alex Gall bringing the 191 in there, and that's going to be handed over to Lewis Barlow, who will take it to the end of the race there. Been monitoring Hugh Barter for the last couple of laps here, and we're thinking it's about time for him to come in. Every time he's angled his car towards pit lane, though, he's just put it on. This time, he's going to jump in and have a look at that. The Coanda Corvette behind of Iglesias is going to stay out for an extra lap at least.
So it may have ended in tears in the GTP class for Coanda, with Porsche Coanda retiring in unceremonious circumstances, but it could be a 1 and 2. It will be the American Michael Johnny that replaces Tristan Iglesias. The two teamed up as Rexy last year, representing AO Racing in that traditional green Roxy livery. Rexy rather livery, went on to win the third round at Sebring. And a day that I know Michael in particular was very, very happy about. Got to go out to Laguna Seca earlier this year and spend some time with the team, grab some pictures with the car, and spend some time with Coanda Esports driver Lauren Heinrich, who of course races for AO Racing, or has done for the last couple of years. Off and away goes Nicholas Rubilar, taking over from Manuel Troncoso, as we just now wait for the final couple of takers onto pit lane. Looks like the top 10 still yet to slide their way into the box. As we were just talking about Windward Esports, Joey, penalty for contact with the 144.
Yeah, unfortunately, race control has caught up with this number 148, so they're going to be having to do a drive-through penalty. That's probably going to drop them down the order pretty significantly from where they are running, as it looks like we've now got our front runners in GTD finally hitting pit lane. That was the 196 car finally getting in, and this is the 118. That was Tristan Iglesias swapping with Michael Janney, just like how we heard Arjuna was doing.
Close fight behind Danny Lorenzo on technically his teammate. He's got Owen Carroll in front of him on loan from BS Plus competition to the Channel 199 sim racing team, which I always think is an interesting complexion, as we have our first track limits violation. It's fiercely forward. That will head in to serve that immediately. But yeah, Reese, going back to Danny Lorenzo on his teammate Owen Carroll, I find that's always a tricky circumstance when you're finding a teammate who's also not a teammate in this particular race, as the German shapes up the inside and the door gets closed. He tries the up and under, but as they head through the final corner, the Cadillac will hold on.
I was holding my breath there. They came very close to contact. I suppose that's one advantage to having Owen Carroll be familiar as a teammate. Danny will know what Owen is like to race against as well. A little bit of complexion here in terms of traffic. That's the Apex Mustang of Luca Kita, the 199. They've just made their way past, and a little bit of clear air ahead of them to the next few cars. You really get a sense for how difficult it is to see your way ahead. Basically, in these sections of the circuit, your headlights define where you go. It's your only view forward. Let's see what Owen Carroll can do to keep Danny Lorenzo behind him. Seems that for the moment, Owen Carroll is powering out of the corners very nicely in that Cadillac and fighting up against the BMW as the last two cars for GTD come in. We'll be seeing their pit cycles come to a complete close and have the field cleansed, at least for our GT competitors. Still waiting on those final couple of pit stops for the prototypes.
I still have actually quite a few GTDs left. Veloce Thrustmaster, Aston Martin, Aramco, who are running 1 and 2. Yes, Scuderia Ferrari HP Esports team in third, although they will give up those positions sooner rather than later. The net race lead is in the hands of Xander Reed, who's obviously taken over from Alejandro Sanchez, but now only 6 seconds clear of Michael Johnny in the chasing Kawando 118. Nicholas Rubelar has jumped into the 168, so he's actually replaced Hugh Potter, and he is about 1.8 seconds off the back of what is second on the road right now. Luca Kita 7 seconds further adrift, a little bit further back for BS Turner as well, Florian Lebigra as well. Oh, not ideal for our defending champions, but as the sun has set, let's flash back through the highlights of the opening 2 hours in this 2025 IMSA Esports Global Championship. It was really about the aggression through traffic. That was Jordan Johnson getting a bit too aggressive through the cambered in turn 6, but it really wasn't one of the major trouble spots. Turn 10 ended up being the place where most drama has unfolded through the course of this race at the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. We've seen momentum shifting hands in the GTD class. We've seen race leaders involved in race-ending incidents in the GTP class. That's a look at what happened to one of our Drago Aston Martins. They're recovering from that, but there was to be no recovery from this. Cold tires and a ruined Porsche 963 for our race-leading Porsche Kawanda Esports team. Sam Michaels trying to go up the inside on warm tires, but ending up causing a big incident. The 199 Apex Ford Mustang, Johan Hart was very lucky to avoid a trip into the outside wall as Solpeck's Virtual Mindset entry tried to slip up the inside, and traffic as ever, keeping these cars close. 52 saw the green, 51 are still running. Today's coverage of the IMSA Esports Global Championship is brought to you by Michelin, the official tire of IMSA. Michelin is the exclusive tire provider for all classes of the WeatherTech Championship, Michelin Pilot Challenge, and VP Racing Sports Car Challenge Series. And by AMD. The AMD Ryzen 9 9950X 3D processors with second AMG Gen 3D V-Cache technology is now available for a massive gaming performance boost. And by VCO. Catch the next round of the Esports Racing League next Saturday on iRacing, November 8th on the VCO Twitch channel. And by iRacing Arcade. Wishlist iRacing Arcade today. Coming December 2nd on Steam and consoles in early 2026. Arjuna Kankipati alongside of Reese Gardiner and Joey Atterbury. The sun has well and truly set, but the racing action only intensifying out on the track. Any threat of rain that was in the air has long dissipated, I think, at this point, Reese, although there's some teams that might be trying to do a rain dance with 43 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, they'll certainly be hoping for the chance to gain a bit when the wet weather comes, if it even comes. Yeah, it's a little bit of a disappointment to see that the rain has not eventuated thus far. We do still have 43 minutes remaining in this 2 hour and 40-minute race, so you never know. Could be some surprise in store. We'll just have to wait and see. For the moment, I think the dark conditions are providing more than enough of a challenge for everybody.
Yes, adding rain into that mix could only make it even more spicy. I don't think they necessarily need the challenge at this point. Pit stops complete now for the final couple of GTD contenders for Lotte Thrustmaster, Scuderia Ferrari, HP Esports team, as well as the Aston Martin Aramco Esports team, who have done the, if I'm understanding this correctly, double driver change. They put Ruben Paulino in for the middle stint of the race. Lasse Bach is back in the car to close this out. Mahler Racing Team under fire as Luca Alper in the EMM Lamborghini looks to try and charge his way forward up into a top 10 after starting down in 19th. But Joey, you called out in our private chat slightly earlier, a great job from the Mahler Racing Team to recover after that penalty earlier today.
That is this white and green BMW, that 110. So I think they were actually just getting around that Lamborghini on the racetrack up into 10th place. And yeah, they had that drive-through penalty from the contact in turn number 6 a little bit earlier with one of those Ferrari GT3 machines. But I think what Ryan Barneveld is kind of relishing right now is directly in front of him, there's about 2 more cars up for position. So what started out as a good day kind of unraveled in the middle, but they're starting to put it together once again here in the closing stages.
It's a short championship, so in some ways, if you have a poor round, it's sometimes hard to fight back. But the big GTD class, Virtus Pro, are one of our only retirements because even Porsche Kawanda are back out on track and trying to salvage something from this race, because Reese, they all recognize 4 rounds, no drop rounds in the championship, and every point, including qualifying points, could end up making a difference, whether you're fighting for the championship, whether you're fighting for a top 5.
Absolutely. To break it down very simply, qualifying position awards 1/10 of the amount of points on offer for the same position in the race. So 350 points for a race win, that's 35 points for pole position. So that's what Rogers and Caruso currently have. They want to try and maintain that. They finish where they are, they'll get an extra 10 points added on top of that. 45 points is not nothing. So they've had their little debrief as the car had to be repaired in pit lane. Often takes a while for that to happen, depending on how heavy the damage is. And Rogers will just be focusing on circulating, trying to pick up positions where he can, just hope for mistakes and incidents for cars in their class ahead. Next penalty that race control has for the IMSA Esports car for contact with car 169. That is a drive-through, unfortunately. I hear how disappointed you are with that one, Arjuna.
Well, we've just been singing their praises about how they have a chance for a top 10, and it's contact with the second Drago car, Nicholas Matteo. That was the incident at the top of turn 3 that we saw in our highlights just a few moments ago. Oh, that's heartbreaking. I don't think Luca Alpert was the driver responsible for the contact, but he's the one that's going to serve the penalty. That is for sure. The only of our Apex entries in GTP is defending from Aaron Vasquez, who was excluded from qualifying for a late change of the driver lineup and having to fight their way back through the field in the Acura that hasn't necessarily had the pace of maybe some of the other manufacturers. BMW runs 1 and 2, Porsche in 3rd. The best of the Cadillac has been as high as 4th on occasion. The best Acura, yes, Loic Rabier did lead momentarily in the number 3, but that was a sort of lie based on pit cycles, so we'll be curious to see if it fares better in any of the rounds coming up. Lights flash on the bottom of the screen, which, Joey, is the universal sign of the hurry up. Ryan Barnabel's in front of the Altitude Frame Esports crew, and Dennis Grabowski wants to see the pace increase.
Yeah, and I think that Ryan's just been doing a tremendous job working his way forward here in the BMW. Remember, we just checked in on him a couple laps ago. They were outside the top 10. Now they are up into 9th place. So that number 110 BMW is solely focused out of the windshield right now. About 2.4 seconds up the road is the Drago Racing 169 car. So Ryan's got a little bit of a mountain to climb right now to try to go grab 8th place position. But like I said a little bit while ago, a terrific job on the recovery effort.
So we are expecting one more pit stop from all the GTPs. In fact, I think we have just entered into that window where the first of them could be pitting. Sometimes I do know my things. Team Redline, the number 34 Reese, it is in pit lane, and it's going to be Luke McEwen that fills up the car with fuel, puts some Michelin tires on, and heads back out to see the checkered flag.
Absolutely. Eduardo Leo has already brought that car in for the first 72 laps of this race, so you would expect Luke McKeown to stay in that machine. The question is, how long is the pit stop going to be? It's going to be a very short one here. Meanwhile, looking at last season's champions in the GTP class, Williams Sim Racing Chill Blast machine, Matt Farrow now at the wheel. They have worked their way up to effective 3rd. So let's see what more they can do from here. Could be another win on the cards if everything goes their way in the final stint. They do have quite the gap to make up, though. They are nearly 18 seconds behind the current race leader.
Joey, how much do you remember of last year's season finale?
I remember every single event last year, and I remember a few broken hearts, especially early on, and some big incidents late.
Yes, let's not forget, of course, that number 5, which in my heart, is the number 1. I love when the champions run number 1, 101 in the GTD case. But, you know, Max Verstappen, big send through the opening corner. Jaden Muniz can really do nothing except be hit, right? Let's be honest, they're faultless in his position in what was the Williams Esports Chill Blast car at the time. But then through all the drama, the Redline Championship contending car getting caught up in strife as here comes Channel 199 down to pit lane. It was really a bit of a showcase to me, Joey, of the never say die attitude that you need in endurance racing, and maybe sometimes in particular in IMSA as well.
Yeah, and sometimes you just have to be like Dory out there, right? You just have to keep swimming, you got to keep doing laps, and you never know what unfortunate incidents can kind of fall on your competitors out there. You can only control what is in your hands and in your feet, and that's the steering wheel, the brake pedal, the gas pedal. You cannot control everybody else, and sometimes when you have that adversity early on in the race, you just got to put your head down, put that virtual visor down, and keep chugging away laps. You never know what can happen towards the end of one of these things.
You can never relax either. With the sun setting and now being left to your own devices, it is a unrelenting environment they are in right now. This Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta takes no prisoners, and to be known as Michelin Raceway for quite a few years longer, the partnership agreement between IMSA and Michelin extended. The track naming rights extended as well. We are so glad to open up our season at this glorious venue once again, and to have Michelin support as the team that finished second in this race last year down onto pit lane for the final time today. That leaves now, as I count it, the top 8 yet to come down on towards the pit lane. Top 7 once that final car heads out of pit lane. But a bit of a pop out here as the Lamborghini has had enough waiting. Luca Alpert served that penalty and now slices past the Apex Racing Ford Mustang of Lewis Barlow, all as traffic Reese plays its part. There goes the Williams Sim Racing Chill Blast car down to pit lane.
Yes, indeed, just clearing those GTDs in time for the final chicane. And, well, that shows why Matt Farrow is part of this gym. He knows, speeding. Oh no, we've just heard speeding on the way into the pits for the number 5. And they've just received an extension to their pit stop time as a result. Their podium run might be, if not over, way more difficult now.
It doesn't get worse than that, because now the penalty going to be more significant. Does that give Team Redline confidence to finish 1 and 2nd and leave the fight for the 3rd and final step of the podium in the hands of potentially the likes of CrowdStrike Racing? And Joey, what did we talk about in our Michelin keys to the race? Pit entry here being difficult and the pit speed being important to monitor as well.
Yeah, it is 45 miles an hour is what the pit lane speed limit that you got to get down to, and just the entry to the pit lane here at Road Atlanta is so gosh dang tricky. You got to be able to limit the mistakes out there. Don't do anything that is going to beat yourself in terms of the race. Sometimes it's the easy things that slip through the cracks.
Wow. Well, breathe. 33 minutes left on the clock. I think we are in that state where BMW M Team Redline are looking like they are comfortably one hand on the victory right now. Here comes Ate Kauppinen. Great fight back from this team as well, Reese, after Alexander Spets overcommitted in turn 1, put himself in the kitty litter. They're on for a top 10 here, and that's really all they could have asked for after being at the tail end of the field 1 quarter into the season.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to see that kind of recovery here, and I think you're going to be seeing that a lot more as the season goes on. Sebring, an ever brutal circuit, and Daytona always throws up a surprise. You just got to know. Looking at the way things are going for a lot of these teams, it is far from over until you're in the final 10 minutes, and even then, it's still up for grabs. I'm sure that the Williams Sim Racing Chill Blast number 5 is going to have that first and foremost in their minds. They have come out of the pits now, and they got a 40-something second penalty added to their pit stop. 1 minute and 10 seconds in the pit lane. No GTD car has had a pit stop that long without damage, and they re-emerge in 14th in class.
And almost 1 full lap off the lead as well. They're only about 20 seconds off of being one lap down. That's how significant that penalty really is from them. Oh, that is heartbreaking. And after finishing second in the first year which the championship ran with GTPs, they won the race last year in year 2 with the prototypes. Year 3 will not see Williams on the podium, especially after we didn't get a replay of what happened to the Williams Gaming Club, but yeah, they also effectively rode off a Porsche, much like Porsche Coanda did just a couple of moments ago. So, Counter Team, the Apex 99 and CrowdStrike's 3, along with the Fiercely Forward 11, they should all be in pit lane before the end of the race. I think that means Drago Racing, Joey, could even get a top 5 from all of this.
Really, they're kind of sitting third right now, at least in terms of the pit stop cycle. Now, obviously, we'll just have to wait and see where everybody cycles out once they take their fuel and tires. But yeah, that Drago Racing car is certainly looking very, very pretty right now. And I do just kind of want to report on the GTD strategy stuff, since we saw them hit pit road about 15-20 minutes ago. It was that Coanda Esports car, the 118. They were able to leapfrog the Drago Racing 168, so that took them from out of the podium up into second place. A great call from both Coanda Esports cars.
Again, the fact that they didn't go for the Porsche was the first sign in my mind that they had seen something in the Corvette that was worth going with.
They're competitors. They saw it, huh?
Racers, right? You give them a choice of car, they'll pick the fastest one. The Porsche, the EMM Porsche, has got a drive-through penalty for track limit infringements. Now, that's only 2 teams that have been caught out, but Reese, we've still got 30 minutes to go, and there's a lot of teams that are right on that cusp. And that starts to influence the way that you race your competitors wheel to wheel.
Yeah, like dominoes falling, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of those come out in the next 30 minutes. It does change how you race the competitors, because Road Atlanta is an old school racetrack. It doesn't have anything in the way of tarmac runoffs. It's just grass and gravel lining the circuit. And early on in the race, when you have off-track violations to spare, so to speak, yeah, maybe you can take a bit more risk and run a little bit wide here, cut the inside of a corner there. When it gets to this late in the race, though, and you've started to build up an amount of those violations, yeah, you do start to take a little bit more care. And if your rivals have more to spare than you do, then you'll certainly come under greater attack. They can afford to be more aggressive.
Let's take a look at a replay of something that's happened out on track. Still lots of cars out there. And this will be that pit entry that saw them get the speeding penalty. You can see the brake rotors light up, and that's the point at which they must be below speed. You can tell that he is maximum force into those brakes right now, trying to slow it down. Eventually the glow fades as the brake rotors retract. And a little too little, too late, it would seem.
It's really, he got lucky because he was locked up there, and he kind of got lucky that he didn't understeer into that driver's right-hand wall. When you carry too much speed into that pit road entry, it's not only just getting it down to the pit lane speed limiter, but also avoiding that kind of S section going on to pit road.
Through the opening corner. We are now down, by the way, to 27 minutes left to go. As your race leader, Chris Lully, Silly Lully, as sometimes he's called. But right now, that's the last thing he is thinking about. Anything silly. Keep it clean through traffic, stay out of trouble. The next closest car on the same strategy is 8 seconds adrift here, Reese. And that is their teammate. Let's go full throttle. Let's drink in the sights and sounds of Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta at night. what a glorious sound it is. Engines reverberating around Braselton, Georgia, around the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, which just a handful of weeks ago was sold out for the 28th running of the Great Motul Petit Le Mans. We had to back out 2 miles to go find parking on occasion. We've apparently managed to pack that many virtual spectators into the track as well. Arjuna Kankipati alongside of Reese Gardiner and Joey Atterbury with what is now 24 minutes left to go in the opening round of the IMSA Esports Global Championship. Season opener that's had a little bit of everything. We had some great close times in qualifying, a thrilling race start with some incidents, clean multi-class racing and everything in between. And now some race leaders looking very, very comfortable, Reese. Chris Lullam for BMW M Team Redline and GTP, and Xander Reed for Coanda Esports have been dominant since they ascended to the front of their class.
That they have. Particularly surprised by the Coanda Esports' form in those Corvettes. We've talked about them a few times now, and they are on course for victory in their class. And see how much up in the air things are for the podium in GTP. We were talking recently about the Drago Racing number 69 and how much of a great run they've been having since making a recovery early on. 8 laps into their stint and looking good towards the end of the race. They have just moved back into third as Aaron Vasquez has brought the Culture team number 92 into the pit lane. We also have the Jeza Esports car of Daniel Civijabo, who's been in the pits now for over 4 minutes. Been a big problem apparently for the number 90. As far as GTP goes, that's what the deal is. BTD still up for grabs in many ways as well. Coanda Esports and Drago Racing are battling for second place on track there.
Our hard-working team at iRacing is working to get the timing back up on your screens. I want to thank them for their effort in the last week to get things together. Shout out to Ashton and Max at IMSA as well. We've had some support from, at the very least, I think Alex I saw jumping into a couple of emails. So big shout out to the help that we've had across the three-headed collaboration, VCO, iRacing and IMSA working together to put together what is one of my favorite series to cover, both real or virtual, but one that the drivers really do enjoy as well. Joey, we've talked about it a little bit already, but round 3, slightly different from the 2-hour and 40-minute norm that this series has become known for. We'll have 2 individual races, one for the GTPs, one for the GTDs, both 75 minutes in length. GTPs get to go racing on the streets of Long Beach. GTDs get to head to the rolling hills of the Virginia International Raceway.
Just like emulating how the real IMSA WeatherTech series is over there, and how they have the GTP standalone events at some venues, and how they have the GTD standalone events at some venues. That's exactly what we're going to do here with the IMSA Esports series, and I'm really excited to see those GT cars, especially at VIR. Got a little bit of a soft spot for Virginia International Raceway. You know, it was one of my home tracks for a very long time. Got tons of laps around there, so really excited to see a GT-only event there. But I think really the blockbuster is those GTPs, the prototypes over there at Long Beach. First time this series is going to be over there at that street course venue. And I mean, when you think about Long Beach, you typically think more about the open wheel cars, the Indy cars that go there, but IMSA has such a presence there. It really has become one of the great street fights in road course history, or I should say street circuit history.
IMSA is developing its own history there, that is for sure. Your leader continues to carve their way through traffic. Chris Lullam is not putting a foot wrong as he gets to the inside of Drago Racing's Nicholas Rubelar. The fight is still on for second spot. Michael Johnny, the American, under fire from Nicholas Rubelar. Culture team out of pit lane. Their tires are just about up to temperature now. And Aaron Vasquez, with his 13,048 I rating, is having to defend from Garrett Berry in that Solpec Precision Racing machine, who Reese showed so much potential, so much promise at the start of this race. Led for a couple of laps as well, but then things started to get unstuck. 7th still on the cards.
Yep, indeed. The Solpec Precision Racing outfit is known for not giving up. And we'll be keeping a close eye on the Williams Sim Racing Chill Blast team as well. Remember that number 5, who's a few more seconds back from this fight. Reigning champions in GTP from last season, made the switch from BMW to Porsche for the 2025 season. Depending on how hard these guys fight, whether or not they come up on some traffic soon, there'll be some more time to be gained there. But they seem to have some bizarrely rare clear air around here. Yes, they've just come up on the Aramco Aston Martin Esports machine on their way through the S's here, but they had a nice little half a lap there where they had no GT cars ahead of them, free to unleash those beasts.
And as they wind up now, headed back to the back straightaway, I'll call back out to Drago Racing, who are 3rd in GTP. And now that other GTD machine is defending from Ryan Barneveld. Here comes the Mahler Racing crew. They won their first iRacing special event earlier this year at the Bathurst 12 Hours in great style as well. Barneveld trying to shake to the inside, poke his nose alongside of the Aston Martin, but that would have been brave. Also brave was the jink from Garrett Berry. Could have been a whole world of trouble. Barneveld, the Dutchman, is up the inside as they fly out through turn 1, cresting up towards 3. Right-hander coming on the outside, so it's difficult to hold on here. Oh, and squeezed out of room. Nicholas Matteo finally concedes, Joey.
Barneveld is on a mission out there, and with 17.5 minutes remaining, he is up into 8th place. Now, the last time from him, a 1:16.49. That is faster than the number 110 car qualified. Going to have to get skinny as some of these prototypes cars are trying to make their way through. But I was just... Yeah, it's really busy with those GT cars and the prototypes going through some of these slower corners. But I was just about to make the point, a 1:16.4, that's actually faster than every single GT car on the racetrack right now. So can the 110 go up there and catch the 102 about 4 seconds up the road?
Ooh, it's not much time remaining. But that's not a bad shout. We'll keep an eye on that. It is short time, though, that is for sure. 52 started. We are officially down 3 cars. The Shezza 126 Corvette, the fiercely forward Lamborghini that started the race off, getting involved in an incident at turn 3, and then the Virtus Pro Mercedes. That was the first official retirement of the race. We have still got the 49 circulating around the track. So GTP, it's BMW M Team Redline from the sister Team Redline machine, and then Drago Racing and BMW M Team BS Plus competition. BMW's reigning supreme here, although you go back through the historical history books. 3rd year at this track, Reese. 2 previous years, both won by a BMW. They have form at this particular venue.
They do indeed. The GTP class are very well matched with each other, but the BMW does have quite a nice history here. Another view on board of that little wiggle that we saw from the car 169 of Nicholas Matteo. Obviously, Drago has certainly had plenty of adventures in this race so far. We'll wait and see if BMW can extend their run of wins here at Road Atlanta in the IMSA Esports Global Championship, and whether or not we can see Owen Carroll and the Channel 199 sim racing car make up some gap to the 4th place car ahead. There's plenty to work out in these last 15 minutes of the race.
We've been talking lots about the titles available from the iRacing Studios team. Well, NASCAR 25 now available on the Xbox Store and on the PlayStation Store. Head to NASCAR25.com to learn more. Coming to Steam very, very soon. From your couch to the track, NASCAR in your hands. And what better way to spend the off-season? Championship weekend. This weekend, of course, for our friends at NASCAR. Spend the off-season diving into the world of NASCAR 25. 15 minutes left. Getting closer and closer is Garrett Berry. Drives in Europe in Euro Cup 3. Open wheel experience for him. Does commit down at 10. but backs out of it just in time. That was very, very close. And all of this as Matt Farrow in the Williams Sim Racing Chill Blast car, recovering from its speeding penalty on the last sequence of pit stops, Joey, closes up 3 cars in the fight for 7th.
Yeah, a 108.7 is what that number 5 car did. That is pretty much underneath the rear spoiler here as we come up to what is turn number 3. Getting held up just a touch by this GT car. Now you escape down to the inside. I don't think he's going to clear the second GT car, so this Solpec precision racing machine going to lose a little bit of time here through turn number 5. Watch Aaron Vasquez kind of run off into the distance here, and now that number 5 is firmly in the rear view mirror, only about 1 car length back from the transmission here. Turn number 7, always so important. You got to nail the exit, and it certainly looks like the Williams Sim Racing Chill Blast car firmly in the slipstream.
Atlanta's own Garrett Berry drags down this back straightaway. Short time remaining, and runs to the middle of the track as he squares himself up in the car under the brakes. Oh, there's some contact. Matt Farrow trying to force himself into the equation. Just boxed out as they head under that Fox Factory bridge. A little bit physical, things starting to bubble up, but this is what happens, Reese. Short time remaining on the clock, and tempers, egos start to flare.
Yeah, this is where the aggression really starts to fire up, and where you're trying to look for every extra bit of pace you can through this sequence here. A place where we've seen so many incidents in this race thus far. Replay down bottom of what we just saw on board there with the Solpec car. Just enough room to the inside for Matt Farrow to slip through, but Garrett Berry maintaining pace on the inside of 10B. A little bit of side-by-side contact doesn't really hurt anyone in these GTB cars, but you do have to be careful when the speed increases. They're coming up to that same location once again. Got some GTD traffic up ahead of them. The 199 of Apex Racing Team has no trouble. And there's the defense from Garrett Berry. Now Matt Farrow will try and get the over-under on the exit here. Is he going to be successful? Not quite. This is good defense from Berry.
And watch the turn 1, it's not quite over. If you get a good slingshot through the final corner, you could throw a lunge even at the high speeds with the prototypes. Typically the heavy braking zones are where you think the moves are going to go. Very much trusting the downforce there was Garrett Berry as he hung it on the high line, longest way around the corner that he could find. Starting to get to the point where the rest of the battles are naturally resolving themselves. Your fight for second in GTD, that's now 1.7 seconds covering the two of them. This is by far the most intense fight. Sean Campbell's joined the mix as well from the IMSA YouTube chat onto the track here, and with 12 minutes left to go, bit of a squirrel from Farrow as he has the left side in the grass, digging out of turn 7. Where is Campbell through all of this? Will be just behind in the Cadillac as they fly to the braking zone of 10. Berry forced to go defensive. Farrow shoves himself into a hole that was never really there.
Whoa,
Great
Campbell
racing through all of them. The American Sean Campbell saw it coming, picks the pocket of one, but not of both, Joey.
Yeah, it was great racecraft once again, kind of like we saw earlier out of some of those prototype drivers and GT drivers, but this time it was Sean Campbell being very decisive, getting past Matt Farrow. I think that number 5 car is kind of getting a little bit frustrated behind the Solpec precision racing machine. But guess what? Garrett Berry doing an excellent job out there. He's kind of being this immovable rock. He's not doing anything malicious in the brake zones. He's just driving his race out there as it looks like we've got more drive-through penalties, this time for the 167.
And 10 minutes shy of getting to the end without a track limits violation, but they will head down and spend 25 odd seconds puttering down pit lane. It's probably closer to about a 28-30 second loss cone to cone once you emerge back out onto track. It's about 10 points per position until you get to the front 5 in the IMSA point scoring system. And from there, 350 points for a win, 320 for second, 300 for third. It does start to matter how consistently you can be up towards the front of the field. Back down to the final corner, less than 10 minutes remain in the opening round of the IMSA Esports Global Championship, and our eyes are locked, enthralled by this fight for 8th position. All while it's unfolding, Reese, Aaron Vasquez is now almost 4 seconds clear. That's how much these guys are fighting with one another. And traffic's not helping their case. That's the leader in GTD.
Yeah, Xander Reed staying well clear of that fight in the Coanda Corvette. And they thump and power over that curb at the exit of turn 5. I mean, that corner is one of the most difficult around this place. So many bumps across those curbs. Doesn't work for these GTPs. Car number 5 has gotten a track limit warning as there was a little bit of an accordion going on there through turns 6 and 7. They'll space out again. You're right, though. Aaron Vasquez has skipped away here. He is now some 5 or 6 seconds ahead of this fight. And Garrett Berry has managed to stay at the front of this one the whole time. The frustration of Matt Farrow as Sean Campbell was able to slip himself right into the fight here. But coming up on some more Jeep traffic as they come down to the final corner here. Just flat out, just able to follow each other closely. What else can Farrow do here as he's looking for the inside?
He goes for it. Surely not. We've seen big contact here before in the real world, but the respect on either side, pixels between the two of them. And Joey, they squeeze through, checked up behind the visceral Lamborghini for a moment. But things are getting tight, things are getting close, and I've already seen there's a couple of cars with big damage that Race Control will be telling to head back to pit lane, including BS Plus Turner. Watch for the aggression starting to build.
Yeah, you know, we always say that the gloves come off when the sun goes down at Road Atlanta, but guess what? With 10 minutes remaining, all of the rules pretty much go out the window right now. So Garrett Berry in that number 60 car doing a tremendous job, but the fight is between Campbell and Farrow. Farrow on driver's right side, going down into the brake zone of turn number 10. Can he get the car turned in? Leaves enough room at apex, and finally, Sean Campbell has to give up the position.
And that is a champion who is frustrated with how the race has unfolded, was not going to take no for an answer there. And it's 9th position. It's not 3rd position, like he was hoping to be fighting for before. That slight speeding penalty, the smallest of infringements, the biggest of consequences. Penalty for the 151 mag performance Ferrari, which has a stop and hold 30 late in the day. That is a big penalty. It was 3 cars, make that 4. Maxence Godino for the Apex Racing Cadillac has entered the mix as well. Someone in our IMSA YouTube chat said it perfectly. The fight for 8th position, more fascinating than any fight for the lead we've got right now.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. It seems like every time a pass is made, every time something significant happens, we have a new player joining the match. In this case, it's Godino, hailing from Le Mans in France, home of a particular famous sports car race, as I'm sure you're all aware. Let's see what he can do here. This car is 15 laps into its stint, so it's the latest to pit out of all of these guys. Will have the fresher tires, so to speak, so a little bit more to fight with. Can Godino make use of that rubber? Got Sean Campbell to come up on first, and Campbell I've seen in many different series now. He is one to contend with. No matter what car he drives, the fight starting to close up once more here for Matt Farrow, as he's got Sean Campbell right on his rear once again.
Yeah, no, Campbell, one of those talents that is able to adapt across of cars, frustratingly talented sometimes, is the way that I would describe some of these drivers that we have on the sim. The word alien often gets thrown around as well. Fight for 16th between Apex and Door, 2 Ford Mustangs. That's pretty close. Outside of that, though, there really isn't too much to be keeping our eyes out on, except for this battle that continues to just go on and on and on. Berry has closed a little bit back up to Aaron Vasquez through all of this, though, so with now 5 minutes left to go, we are in short time at this point. For the Apex Racing team, if they could pick their way through 3 positions, well, that's a good 30 points, Joey, which could be very, very valuable in a short championship to get on the board to start things off.
The key words, a short championship. So that means every single point is worthwhile. If you have trouble in the race, you need to get back out there onto the racetrack and pick up as many points as you possibly can. We were mentioning earlier last year, right? We weren't really sure what was going to happen in that final round of the championship, and sometimes you just got to stay out there doing laps, and the right thing will come your way eventually. However, this is racing. It always doesn't work out.
Stick around for our post-race report brought to you by AMD. We'll have a quick chat with our class winners and get their feeling on how the season opened up for them. Sun well and truly has set. These drivers are now focused fully on the shape in front of them as they carve their way through the night. 4 minutes left to go. Where's the race leader, you're wondering? Coming out of the final corner right about now. And so he'll cross the line with 3 minutes and 53 seconds to go, Reese, which, doing my commentator math, which you should always take with a pinch of salt, 4 laps to go?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's frankly amazing the pace that these GTPs can carry around here. In fact, that BMW MT Redline car, it seems, has just set their personal best lap just then, as we check in with the P16 battle in GTD. Apex Racing Team leading the way there, and the Door Esports Mustang, who we last saw being sent in rattle trap. Every single position matters, as we are well aware. They'll be battling all the way to the end here. Only 3 minutes left on the clock, and just like that, we have Chris Lullum coming round to end the next lap. This battle here, far from over through the final corners.
You want to know how much every position matters in 2023, the first year of the GTPs in this IMSA Esports Global Championship. VRS Coanda won the championship. Lauren Heinrich was part of their lineup. Without winning a race, they finished second twice, 6th and 7th to open up the season. It's not about finishing at the front, it's about being there consistently. And again, we'll repeat that phrase time and time again. Every point matters. 2nd and 3rd in last year's GTP championship. 1 point, the difference between BS Plus competition grabbing 2nd and Team Redline grabbing 3rd. These drivers will get 1 extra lap compared to the leader by virtue of being just in front of him on the road. That means that Sean Campbell, as we jump back on board with the young American, Farrow snaking back and forth on the run down to the braking zone here. Joey, they'll get 3 laps effectively to try and fight from here. Your race leader about to take 2 laps left to go.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth, because our overall leader is coming down the hill directly behind him. I think it just kind of puts it into perspective how much that BMW M Team Redline car has been hooked up today, right? Making 0 mistakes. Other GTP cars have faltered, whether it be drive-through penalties or massive incidents in this part of the racetrack. But that number 33 has had a good performance window. They haven't made any sort of mistakes, and now they're looking at probably 1 more lap to go after this one.
Reese, your first time joining us here in the IMSA Esports Global Broadcast Center, and what a race to join as well. I mean, I think we have had one of the most thrilling races we've seen in the 3 previous years of the championship. We've seen drama, and I think storylines that will carry all the way to the end of this season. December 7th, when we head to Daytona to close things up.
Yeah, for sure. Really happy to be a part of the crew for this season. It's a fantastic opportunity, and I have been rewarded with a fantastic race. It's been thoroughly entertaining the whole way through, and if this is only the first round of 4, then we are in for a treat over the next few weeks.
And it's now 4 cars in that fight for 7th spot. So as the white flag waves for BMW M Team Redline, Culture Team Aaron Vasquez under a lot more pressure than they were a couple of laps ago. Berry is there, Farrow is there, Campbell's in the mix too, with no real traffic to slow them down as they head up out of turn 5 and climb until you come over the top of the ridge and then descend into turn 6, where the car squats in through the cambered nature of the corner. We have hit 0 seconds remaining and almost 3 line astern onto the back straightaway. They will get 1 more lap after this one. but the fighting by no means done and dusted. Vasquez with a great exit off the corner. He's left Garrett Berry to defend from Matt Farrow as they fly past one of the Aston Martins for Drago Racing. Long way around for Farrow. Has to chop back down low. Was never really going to make that one work. And while they set off for the final lap of their race, behind them, redemption finally. Pole position a year ago, but involved in a crash, finished in 7th. It's BMW M Team Redline. Chris Lullum, Diogo Pinto, winners of the opening round of the 2025 IMSA Esports Global Championship. Here come the rest of the drivers still in their fight, slicing down through turn 5, but Reese, they are about to pass the GTD leader. Xander Reed's got to watch all of this through his side mirrors.
Yeah, they've just made their way past Jenny, who's currently running in 2nd place, and this is going to be huge here. More traffic at turn 7. This could be the opportunity they need. Williams up the inside now, scything to and fro. Where do you want to put your car? 3 wide in traffic. This could get interesting.
And surely you want to put yourself on the inside, box the car out heading through turn 10A, but brave around the outside to risk it. Oh. Defending champions not backing down, and they will get the drive off the corner. Almost 3 wide under the Fox factory bridge. It could be an MX-5 finish, but Aaron Vasquez will hold on. Turn, our defending champions who crossed the line in a 360, wrecked 963 and 10th. All the while, here comes our race winners in GTD, Xander Reed, Alejandro Sanchez, take a bow. But my goodness, Joey, what an end we've just seen in the fight on the tail end of the top 10.
It was fireworks, and honestly, I thought that Sean Campbell was going to get 2 for 1 down there in turn number 10, but props to this 181 car, your winner in GTD, the Coanda Esports machine, Xander Reed, of course, closing that out, and then they have their teammates directly behind them, the other Coanda Esports machine, Michael Janney and company, pulling off an excellent strategy to leapfrog up onto the podium. A great day for this esports team.
The smile on my face is from ear to ear. It's great to get the band back together, add some new faces. Race control, broadcast crew, the team behind the scenes, that IMSA VCO iRacing that make it all happen. We've had a blast, and what a rewarding start to the championship. Celebrating a bit early, potentially there for Chris Lullum. But burn it down. Victory lane awaits. The first time that Team Redline in the top class in 4 years of the IMSA Esports Global Championship have started the season off with a victory. They will be thrilled to finally get the monkey off their back. And silly Lully, Diogo Pinto, an almost perfect race. Would have been interesting to see what happened with Porsche Coanda, but let's take a look at our Michelin move of the race. And so many to pick from, but I think this might be an easy pick. Through the nights, through the traffic, and headed out through the S's. Joey, this is where we were talking about needing to be wise, needing to see opportunities as they came, and as they ran up on the back of the Corvette, headed up to turn 6 on the closing laps of the race. What a move to make things happen here.
I mean, multi-class traffic, getting in the middle of it, watching these prototype drivers be as aggressive as possible, and check it out going through turn number 7. Cars forced outside, cars forced inside, splitting the GT cars, and ultimately, Arjuna, it was the drag race down into the turn number 10 brake zone. Sean Campbell did an excellent job doing an over-under, but I believe it was Aaron Vasquez maintaining that lead position.
Yeah, I thought for a second Farrow had done enough. I saw him right here, get off the corner, I thought decently well, but then maybe let off the throttle right around there as it wiggled. That's what cost him, and then not really much that he could do. I will say, we don't often recommend driving in the grass, but I understand why Sean Campbell took his lawnmower services to the outside of turn 12. Xander Reed burns it down, a winner alongside of Alejandro Sanchez. Let's dive into our AMD post-race report. Because boy, do we have some things to look through. Provisional race results, we should say, because you get the sneaking suspicion a few late race penalties maybe still yet to be applied, but no such worries for the top two at the very least. It's a red line 1 and 2, the BMW M entry in front of the sister car, and then look at that gap. Back to Drago Racing. Alexander Spets threw it away through turn number 1, but he and Ate Kauppinen fought back to an incredible podium effort. They finished just in front of BMW M Team BS Plus competition, while the best of the Cadillacs is Channel 199 in 5th. Good effort from the Acuras, both CrowdStrike Racing to climb their way up to 6th position, but after not qualifying with a qualifying ban, Aaron Vasquez up to 7th with Carlos Fenalosa. Grid and go in the grass across the line, 8th for them. And then back down to find Solpec Precision Racing and Williams Sim Racing Chill Blast. Not an easy open to the title defense for that number 5. Just 2 more cars on the lead lap. Relentless pace at the front of the field, and Apex Racing and Fiercely Forward are 11th and 12th. Second Grid and Go machine is 13th, with the second of the CrowdStrike Acuras behind them. Maniti's pair of entries, 15th and 16th, are in front of that Solprec Virtual Mindset machine. Great to see them back on track after Robin Schwanker's desolation after the incident. They're in front of IMSA Esports, in front of Porsche Coanda, and in front of the Williams Gaming Club. Pole position for Porsche Coanda, not really rewarded. However, the 181 from pole to victory, and a rather dominant drive from Xander Reed and Alejandro Sanchez. Coanda do open up the GTD campaign though with a 1 and 2. Drago's Aston Martin, the one shared by Hugh Barter and Nicholas Rubelar in 3rd. Then, by virtue of where the overall leader of the race was, gaps look a bit big, but Apex in 4th and the Mustang Redline in 5th are defending champions Veloce Thrustmaster, Marla Racing Team, Drago, Altitude Frame Esports, and Team PGZ. The rest of the top 10. Big shout out to Marla. Great recovery after a penalty early doors. 11th for Scuderia Ferrari HB Esports Team, just in front of the Aston Martin Aramco Esports crew, both on their full season debuts in the championship. EMM in 13th, a late stop and go, or rather drive-through for them. And then Visceral, Williams, Door, Apex, Adidas Racing by WSR, Grid and Go, and the second World Sim Racing entry make up the top 20. We start to get into the used car lot, to say the least. Fiercely Forward in front of Sheza, Impulse, Windward Esport, Team PGZ, Mag Performance, EMM, BS Turner, Simufy, and then the first of our official retirees, Sheza's Chevy Corvette, just in front of the 2 teams that had the worst of the days. Fiercely Forward's 111 Lamborghini, and then the Virtus Pro Mercedes. Didn't even get to see Dara McCormack jump into the car today. Well, that was a good chat through all the results. Let's go have a good chat with our drivers and the winning pair, Chris Lullum, Diogo Pinto with Joey Atterbury.
Yeah, we're going to start with Diogo Pinto since you went ahead and started the car. A little bit of some excitement there in those first couple stints with all of that action on track.
Yeah, it's always very, very packed, these races with the traffic. So we knew going into this season, we just have to stay out of trouble. In the past 2 years, we've had some incidents that ruined our season, but I think for now we can be happy. We stayed out of trouble, we were pretty quick. And yeah, I mean, that's just mostly what you have to aim for in this championship.
Well, and Diogo, one more here for you. What does this mean? This is the opening round, and to kick it off with a win, that's a good jump start on everybody.
Yeah, it is, of course, but with this point system and the season being so short, we really need to maximize. So in a way, of course, it's really nice, but the win doesn't mean anything if in the next race you have a really bad result. So we just need to keep it up. There are some teams that had bad results, so we need to capitalize on it. Of course, we have our second car that's also fighting for it. That finished behind us. We have Drago who's very quick. We have PS, so it's going to be a very tight season.
Well, and Chris, to bring you in here, it seemed like Diogo did all the hard work with all of the excitement early on in the beginning half of the race, and then once you got in, it was pretty much cruise control. Did you have any nervous moments out there?
To be honest, no, not really. Once you have once we saw that the number 91, the Coanda car was out of the picture, really, it's just bring it home. Like, you can always leave a little bit of margin with the traffic. Never need to make any massive risks. Also having, again, like Diogo said, the sister car behind gives you a bit of margin. But no, you still have to keep the pace up because if anything happens, then you need to be able to recover that as quick as possible. But in regards to the traffic, yeah, there was a bit of margin.
Well, I think that both of these drivers did an excellent job and, of course, capped off with a victory here in round number 1. That was Diogo Pinto and Chris Lullum driving the BMW M Team Redline number 33, Arjuna.
And let's quickly make our way down to the GTD winner, standing by with Reese Gardiner.
Yes, indeed. Alejandro Sanchez and Xander Reed are joining us here from Coanda Esports 181. We'll go to you first, Alejandro. It was certainly an interesting way to start the race, especially considering you managed to get a few seconds over everyone else in the first pit cycle. Did you guys go into the race with that in mind?
No, not really. But yeah, we managed to have very good pace. The track was quite a bit slippery, so you had to kind of underdrive it, and I'm usually quite decent at that. Yeah, we worked really hard on the setup during all the prep. Basically, the whole team did. Michael, Tristan, Sander, and I. We worked really hard for this. So yeah, quite happy with the delivery we did today. Great pace in the car. The car was really good on fuel as well. We kept the tires in check, doing some fuel saving as well. And the quali pace was also really good. So yeah, overall, really happy about that. Not what I had in mind, definitely, going into the race. Obviously, I knew our pace was good and the prep was on point. But yeah, quite a relaxed race in a way. So happy for the team, happy for Coanda, and happy for us.
As you should be. Xander, you must have felt a bit stressed on the final lap when that GTP battle for 10th was driving around you. As a GT driver around a track like this, jumping in mid-race when everyone's still battling, it must have been one heck of a trip for you.
Yeah, definitely. It was took a little bit to get used to, but once you get in a groove, it was a pretty decent race. Nothing too crazy happened, but yeah, definitely interested in getting into the groove after sitting around all day waiting for your stints, and then gotta jump in and perform.
Absolutely, and perform you guys did. A big car change, actually. You guys are certainly known for your association with Porsche in the past, but going for the Corvette this season, Xander, could you give us any insight into why you guys decided to make that car change?
Yeah, Corvette, it's a car that not really anyone really knows. It's pretty good, and I think it worked pretty well for us.
Well, that it did. Congratulations on the victory, guys. Hopefully that momentum continues. We'll hopefully see you again at Sebring.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well,
all right, Arjuna.
Yeah, thanks for that, Reese. Thanks for that, Joey. Glad that I don't have to be asking the questions for a little bit and I can stay quiet after a lot of action. And it all intensified at the end. Joey, I'll come to you first. Let's start with GTP, because we did see Team Redline last year show lots of speed, but like I think Diogo alluded to there, sometimes caught up in trouble. With a start like this could very well be their year that they finally grab the GTP Championship. 3 years they've been waiting.
And it's a short championship, right? So every single point, every single position is highly valuable out there, and they came out on top. But I think it's going to be drama in the GTP all season long. I mean, how many of the front runners did we see have issues either early in the race or contact throughout the middle? And yeah, the BMW M Team Redline car capitalized, but there are several fast players to be involved.
And Reese, what a welcome to the IMSA Esports Global Broadcast booth. GTD, let's talk about Coanda Esports 1 and 2, and a real statement. We saw some speed from Drago Racing as well. Apex's Mustang was pretty good. The one car that I think we didn't see what we would have wanted to from is our defending champions, Team Redline, in the Aston Martin.
Yeah, indeed. Not quite the result that they were looking for, and title defense that's gotten off to a bit of a slow start for Team Redline, but you never know how their brand new Aston Martin will go at the tracks to come this season. We do go to the bumps of Sebring next, so that might introduce a change in the pecking order, but at this point, Coanda's looking pretty unbeatable. It seems it was a pretty inspired choice to go for the Corvette this season.
Love that you asked that question as well. They found some magic. We'll see what they can cook up. But for the entirety of our team behind the scenes at iRacing, VCO, and IMSA that make all this happen, it's time for us to say goodbye. A week off, and we return. Same time, same place on the IMSA YouTube channels, on the iRacing Esports Network, November 16th at 2 p.m. Eastern for the AMD 240 at the Sebring International Raceway. It will be bumpy. One thing I can promise you is no couches will be burned in the virtual Sebring. That is for sure. But what a way to open up the 2025 IMSA Esports Global Championship. For our team behind the scenes, it's a big thank you. For Joey Atterbury, Reese Gardner, alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati. Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta never disappoints. Congrats to BMW M Team Redline, to Kawanda Esports winners heading out of the opening round of our season.